am. I'm James Hendry, and on camera today is Brian, the Halloween thumb Joubert. Very nice, Brian.
Thank you.
Very topical. I like that. Brian has recovered from his migrainous headache, well, almost, and we're going to try and park him in the shade for the duration of today. And we're going to try and do that around here because Byron followed Karula into this area, and I was hoping to find her before we came live, although I wouldn't have been able to do the evil Cumbritum laugh because she would have taken fright or killed me, neither of which would have been to your benefit at all, I don't think. Now, we're going to head down through here and see what we can find. I'm afraid I have absolutely no communication with the final control at this stage, so your questions will be relayed either via WhatsApp or via Brian. Hashtag Safari Live or questions at wildearth.tv. Okay, I probably won't wear this the whole afternoon because it does feel, well, it feels odd, really. It's about 34 degrees Celsius at the moment, which I think is around about, probably about 89 degrees Fahrenheit. And so we'll just ease our way through here. And with any luck, Karula should be just up ahead with her two babies. I must also just say to you that today apparently is quite a sad day. Shanae Wales-Bailey just made an update that one of Tundi's cubs was unfortunately slain by one of the Styx lionesses. They're not a particularly friendly bunch, the lions, when it comes to the leopards. Louise has sent through a question. 34 and 94, sorry, it's 94 degrees Fahrenheit. It is not 89. I'm sorry about that. One day I'll get it straight. Now let's keep an eye out for here. And while we do that, we will just spare a thought for Tundi and her cub. It has been a rough time, of course, for them. They were chased by baboons earlier, and of course lions just are not good friends. Here are Byron's vehicle tracks. Excellent. This is good news. Good news indeed. They go up here. So we'll drive through here. Louise has sent another message. Let's see what it says. Byron says you must follow his tracks. Well, thank you, Byron. I've now found your tracks. I seem to have lost them again. I may have been on them already. No, here they are. Byron, of course, is sitting in the final control. I told him to go and read a book this afternoon, but he seems not to like to do that sort of thing. So he's now helping us find the leopard, which is a good thing. Now, if you weren't with us on the morning safari, what she did was she killed an impala sometime, probably very early this morning, before we came live. And now I seem to... No, the tracks are still here. And before we came live, she killed an impala, and then she went and fetched the cubs from deep south, probably around Hoffman's, we think. Well, it seems that she went through here. And what is interesting to me is that she is really kind of smack bang in the middle of Shadow's territory. And we haven't seen Shadow for some time. I'm not sure where she is at this stage. Another message. Well, there's a great deal of impala alarm calling, so I don't think we can be too far away. Aaron, in New Zealand, seems like James is about to branch out to Halloween. Very good. Yes, I have branched out. Right, I think we'll head to Tayla for the moment to find out what's going on with her. In the meantime, I will try and find Karula. There are impala alarming, so we can't be too far away. I'll see you hopefully with the Queen shortly.
Right, we've got some zebra which I missed, but thank goodness for David this afternoon. I don't know how I missed them. It must have been while I was driving and putting on my makeup, of course. And hello officially. Let's find a little gap. David, I don't know, are we going to get a gap? Should we go back a bit more? Okay, we'll just sit here. Let me just introduce myself again. It's me, Tayla, of course, and on camera with me I've got David. Now, the theme of today is, of course, Halloween, and I'm going to keep changing it up as we go. If you watched the pre-drive, you would have seen that I was a cat. I'm now, I don't know, I've got stitches or something across my face, and I'm also testing out the waterproof level of my mascara. It's not working so well so far, so I think I'll have to get another one. Let's go back to the zebra. and see. Maybe I'll try and be a zebra this afternoon. That could be quite interesting. What do you think, David? Just I'm pale enough, so I wouldn't need to add the white stripes. And I suppose my freckles could be the shadow stripe as well. We'll just have to colour in lots of black lines on my face. That could be fun. I think I'll probably enjoy doing that. Now, there's quite a few zebra here. All got their heads down, grazing, having having afternoon tea, I suppose. And I suspect that after this, they're edging their way closer to a couple of mud wallows that are along this road. And I think that they'll probably have a little drink in a bit. But for the moment, they're very happy just eating here. Now, I've been trying to look for our herd that we saw the other afternoon. It was yesterday afternoon with a little tiny zebra foal. But I've had no luck just yet. I get very excited with every herd of zebra that I see, and I stop and I look very carefully to see if we can find that wee lad that was hopping around yesterday. But no luck. But I'm sure that we'll probably see it again sometime soon. I don't actually know how many zebra are here. I thought there were quite a few, but now I can only see 3 of them. I think I heard another one in the distance as well, making a bit of noise. But my plan this afternoon, though, is to eventually get around to the Nkuhumas and see what they've been up to for most of the day in this wonderful heat. But the zebras are looking really healthy. There was one animal that I think they didn't really sort of struggle in the drought over these past couple of months. There was only a handful of zebra that I saw that were quite thin and the manes were flopping to the side. But other than that, they're looking lovely and healthy. That one at the back with her bum towards us, she looks pregnant. She was bulging from the side, so that's quite exciting. Now, it's quite difficult to see, of course, because we've got this other zebra in the way. But that will be very exciting. We've seen one foal already, and I suspect that one has dropped her foal. Perhaps the others are also going to start to do the same thing. And that's quite typical to see with the various animals, is that once one gives birth, the rest of them will sort of sync up. And you're probably thinking it's quite random, but it's actually a really good sort of system to try and get as many youngsters to survive as possible. Things like jackals, hyenas, even the lions and the leopards, and of course cheetah. When all those youngsters are born, and there's only 1 or 2 of them around, they get snatched up, unfortunately, quite easily. But when there's a group of them, the chances of survival are much greater. And I think that's quite interesting. There's also quite a few vultures sort of forming a vortex in the distance. Can you see them there? But I don't think that there's any food around because they seem to be going up very high into the sky. And on this lovely hot day, I'm sure there were wonderful thermals around. But we'll see, there's plenty of them all over, just soaring about. Most of them seem to be white-backed vultures, and I did see a couple of smaller ones, which I thought would probably be the hooded vulture, the 2 most common species that we see in this area. Now, it's actually very difficult to see at the moment, but if you have polarized sunglasses and you were to look at the sky at the moment, you may see a few little sort of white bits in the sky, and those very, very subtle clouds, but it's quite difficult to see them, and they're cirrus clouds. So they're very sort of wispy sort of faint clouds, I suppose it's a way you could describe them, and that's usually a really, really good indication that the bad weather is on its way. Normally about 2 to 3 days after we get those clouds, we're almost guaranteed rain. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed and hope that it is true up here in the north as well. Right. We are going to continue with our little bumble and see if we can find some elephants or something else. But I believe James has been successful in his search for Karula.
We have indeed been successful, everybody. We're sitting quite close to her and hoping that she'll turn on and face us. There, of course, is Karula and one of the cubs. I'm just trying to find behind us or somewhere around here where the carcass is, because we came in from that side. We didn't see the carcass. And I'm sure the carcass and the other cub are in close proximity to each other and not too far from where we are now. Ah, I've got it. I can see it. Brian, you see that fallen log there? The fallen marula tree, fairly large fallen marula tree there. It's just underneath that. I can't see a leopard there yet, but I'm pretty sure that's where the other one will be. We will take a closer look there shortly. That's it. You may just be able to see a few extra flies flying around there. There, it's under there, yeah. Right, good. Oh, hello. Look at this, everybody. Now, what we do not want to happen is for Karula to get cross with us because her cub is here. That was quite extraordinary. Wasn't that awesome? Now, we do know, I'm going to talk very, very quietly. We do know that Karula is tolerant to a point, but she can get very irritated. And what we absolutely don't want to happen is to irritate her here. And her cub is being just a little bit inquisitive. I've got no idea where it is right now. It's just around the left to the front, I think. I'm going to ask Brian to sit very still, and we'll keep the camera on the queen because she's turned around to look at us because this is where her baby has come. Hello, madam. I do apologize that we've arrested the attentions of your youngster. We don't mean to do that at all. She looks pretty relaxed, so we will sit here very relaxed. And I will talk in soothing tones. Brian, do I sound soothing?
Very soothing.
Good. Brian says I sound very soothing, which is excellent. All right, I can hear the little cub. Here comes the little cub again. Malik, while we wait to figure, the cub is now just in front of us there. There she goes. Malik, while the cub extracts itself. You know what, I got such a fright I didn't even see who it was. Oh, it's a little Hosanna. It's a little male, everybody. It's Hosanna. Malik, you want to know what the biggest prey I've seen one of these cats take down is? I've seen Karula and Tingana actually on a young buffalo kill. Now that's very unusual. I suspect they probably both took the time out to kill the small buffalo. It was probably, I'm going to say, about a 200 kilogram animal, so about 500 pounds, 440 pounds, pretty big animal, and I suspect it would have taken both of them to take it down. There are records. Right, just over there. I just wonder if the other cub isn't perhaps not at the carcass, but perhaps down there. You see, there she goes. Now you see they're going to start wandering more widely as they get this a little bit older. So, Malik, there are records, of course, of a big male leopard taking down a giraffe, but that's extremely unusual. Look how they melt into the bush. Isn't that great? Anyway, Mum is still here, completely calm and fine. James, you say I need to put the leaves back on my head. I'm not going to do that because one cannot be in the presence of royalty with Combretum calinum strapped to one's head. That is just very non-you. My mother would be scandalized if I was to meet the Queen with a tree strapped to my head. Wouldn't yours, Brian? Brian is agreeing thoroughly, I'm afraid, James. We might put it on again before the end of the drive, but not just yet. Well, this is just a marvellous, marvellous way to start the afternoon. We'll go and take a little look at the carcass shortly. I just want to wait and see what that cub does. That's little Hosanna, the male. Where Shongile is, normally if one is with Mum and there's a kill, the other one is feeding. They don't often feed a great deal together. I also parked straight under this tree that Karula's sitting under right now, and I thought maybe there was a little one in the tree, but there isn't. Now, it is, of course, a very thick bush here. I think I can turn my phone off now because I have got Louise's communications perfectly. Louise, do not say naughty. It was the only way I was able to talk to you. Dare you say I was naughty? Right, I'm going to take a picture, Brian. I'm going to take a picture of this leopard. It will be a beauty. Because she's so close, not even I could make a mess of this.
Well.
Did you hear that, everybody? Brian is casting aspersions on my photographic skills. How dare he? What a cheek. I am, of course, the world's slowest photographer. If I was quicker, perhaps the speed of BLS, I would have got off about 78 photographs of the cub, not more than 2 feet from us. But I do not have the same speed as BLS, either on foot or with the camera. Pains me to say the former, not so much the latter. Now, Gail, you've asked an interesting question all the way from Rhode Island, where I imagine it's getting fairly chillsome at this time of the year. You've said leopards seem to have small ears, and therefore, do they actually, do they hear very well, or do they use their noses and eyes more? Gail, I think you'll find they hear exceptionally well. Why would they have small ears? That's a good question. Why would their ears be smaller than, say, a steenbok's? They're obviously not using their ears for defense, so, they do to a certain extent, but perhaps their ears are the size they are because they do rely more on their smell and sight, whereas a steenbok, for example, or a kudu, which have enormous ears, they obviously spend their entire defensive makeup is made up of trying to hear things coming towards them, certainly in the case of the steenbok. But it's interesting because they do have excellent ears, as do house cats. We know that house cats can hear just about anything, and I'm sure it's the same for these leopards. But I've never thought, why on earth should they have such small ears? Maybe it's got to do with the fact that they don't behave in the same way as the satellite dish ears of a steenbok. So if a steenbok turns its ears around like this, they behave a little bit like a satellite dish. They pick up sound from a certain direction. So perhaps they're not that as efficient as picking up sound from a certain direction. Perhaps they're better at picking an all-round direction. And so they sacrifice perhaps exactly the kinds of sounds that they're hearing. I'm guessing wildly here. Anybody wish to correct me, please feel free. I'd quite like that. Judy H., perhaps you have an idea. Now, we'll move in the next few minutes and just see what's going on with the carcass. And then we'll try and find the other cub. But it is so very nice sitting here in the shade, isn't it, Brian? We don't want to overheat Brian, everybody.
No, not again.
VM has gone on leave, which means that if Brian overheats again, we'll be down to one feed or me on camera, neither of which you want, I assure you. Louise, you can't go on camera because we need 2 people in the directing seat. Louise is volunteering her camera duty, so is Connor. Connor, I think, has operated a cell phone camera before. I'm not sure he's operated anything more than that. Connor smiled and says it's easy. Well, I think we might take Connor up on that, don't you, everybody? Show him how easy it is. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, piece of cake.
Piece of cake, eh? If you're wondering who Connor is, everybody, he's our engineer and drone pilot. He's just qualified as a drone pilot, everyone. I didn't realize you had to qualify as a drone pilot until Connor went to Cape Town. And now he is an official drone pilot. Right, let's go and have a look at the kill, I think. S. Hack, I'm afraid I missed your question. Let's have it again from Louise. I think you asked what eats these animals if they die. Is that correct? Oh, I see. Would they scavenge? Would they eat animals that have died naturally? Yes, they would. But I think you'll find that they're quite careful of animals that have died of disease. And I think they're actually quite good at telling if an animal has died of a disease, as opposed to if it's died of, say it's been killed by another animal and then left. But they will scavenge, so they will steal kills from other animals, absolutely. But some animals that have died of disease obviously do not present a particularly good meal. Right, now if the little cub is underneath the tree with the carcass, it means we've driven straight past her. But I wonder if her brother hasn't gone to lie down with her. Here is the kill. And I don't see no leopard there, do you, Brian? So that is a fully grown impala. And unfortunately, I suspect, quite strongly, yeah, that's a fetus. You see that, Brian? Yeah, there's a young impala, I'm afraid, that has come out of that one. Alrighty, that's a fairly macabre scene. It's not uncommon for this time of the year. In fact, Lex Hess was telling me they did see some wild dogs killing an impala earlier today. And they pulled the fetus out of a heavily pregnant impala lamb, a ewe like this. And it's not uncommon, of course, because they are very heavily pregnant. And that means that they're not very good at getting away from things. So it's quite sad, a bit macabre, not so much for the leopards. Let's head across to Tayla. She's at Buffelshoek Dam. I'm going to try and find the other cub.
We've managed to get to Buffelshoek Dam, and I'm so glad we came here because we have an array of animals. As you can see, the giraffe, the waterbuck, the saddle-billed stork, and the Egyptian geese, Henry the hippopotamus. You can see that's Henry because of the wound on his back, buffalo, and, of course, some zebra. It's an excuse to be very silly this afternoon, so I hope you're having a good laugh at my expense with my lovely zebra face. We've even got little ears, so you're going to hear a bit of noise as I raise my cap. My little ears, they're very small, so hearing is not my best sense. We'll go with something else. Let's have another look at these wonderful creatures, of course. Now, this is indeed amazing, what we're able to see here. Look, we've even got the terrapins joining the party this afternoon. Hello, terrapins. It's just so wonderful. Look at them. I don't even know what they're doing. It must be quite hot in this water. It does look a bit more like soup than it does to be refreshing. And I don't know why they were sort of gaping their mouths like that. It was quite bizarre, because here we go. Look. I suppose if you wanted to, you could insert a little voice and you could make it say all sorts of things. Hello, Tayla. Anna, that's so sweet. I'm so happy to hear that you're going like a zebra like me. I hope your costume is a little bit better than mine. And you said that your brother is going as a lion and that you're going to be friends and he's not going to eat you. Well, that's good. That's good to know. It would be terrible if your brother ate you. And I hope you have lots of fun this evening, and maybe see if we can get some pictures posted. Wouldn't that be amazing? And we can hopefully see them. Remember, this is a live safari, of course, and we're celebrating Halloween out here in the African wilderness, watching these beautiful saddle-billed stork. So if you'd like to ask any questions, or perhaps even just share your Halloween costumes with us, you can send those through to Twitter, and you can hashtag Safari Live, or you can email them, questions@wildearth.tv. Now, this saddle-billed stork that we're looking at the moment, this is a male. Now, the easiest way to tell is that if you look sort of, see, when he turns his head towards us, it makes it difficult, but on the side of his face, he's got little yellow wattles. When he turns his head to the side, you'll be able to see. There we go. You can see them sort of flapping in the wind. And, of course, the female, it seems as though they're off into the distance. And these birds are monogamous, very much like the other birds that we've been seeing, like the saddle-billed stork, like the hornbill. Sorry, I just want to turn the game drive radio off very quickly as everybody seems to be starting their drive now. And you can see that this Mr. Saddle-billed stork is just having a little preen going ruffling through his feathers, and this is the first time that I've actually seen them here, and how lovely is that? There you go, pulled out a feather that he doesn't need, but have a look. Let's see, the waterbuck as well as the giraffe are now having a drink. Look at that, we'll know the waterbuck is now finished. Isn't he beautiful? And of course, I always think it is quite amazing as to how these giraffe are able to bend down like that in a very vulnerable position, of course, and drink water without getting a head rash. I find that probably one of the most fascinating things out in the bush. Now, if you are a new viewer and you've never seen a giraffe do the splits before, well, here we go. And the reason why the giraffe doesn't get a head rash, or the blood doesn't run to its head, is because at the base of the brain, so sort of where the neck ends, there are lots of little blood vessels that sort of disperse all the blood, as well as there being a spongy muscle. So it prevents all the blood from flowing directly to the brain. And I think that's an incredible adaptation that giraffe have sort of evolved as time has gone on. And I always love the way that they lick their lips after they've had a drink as well. And have you ever seen how they stand up? Maybe this giraffe does another drink. Here we go. It looks like it's going down. Now that's when you know it's hot, when you get so many different animals down at a watering hole, quite happy to share the same water source. Now watch what happens, how quickly he will or bring his head back in order to try and stand up again. He's having a big drink of water. Let's see if he's gonna finish just now. They can't drink too much water. We'll hold. There we go. I love it when they do that. How they flick their heads and you see all that water sort of spraying around. I think that is usually quite beautiful. Now I want to show you something else. Mr. Buffalo that's sitting over here is not quite comfortable with the saddle-billed stork coming so close by. Can you see it there? Oh, that one. And then there's one just to the right that is now also shifted. Can you see it there? There we go. Now, it was sitting quite happily, and as the saddle-billed stork moved or inched a little bit closer, and that buffalo has now turned its head and sort of giving it the evil eye. And the reason why that saddle-billed stork might possibly be coming over to that buffalo, and they often do it with hippos, is because animals might be coming to their shade, but the other thing is that when the hippo, when the buffalo, when anything else moves around in the water, it starts to flush out all the fish. And of course, that saddle-billed stork will be sitting there waiting in anticipation to try and spear one of those fish. But they really eat a variety of different things. Fish, to frogs, to crabs, to really anything, even small little terrapins. Now, winter prism, you've asked, you wonder if all the storks have got that little red spot on their chest. You can see it quite nicely on the male, and if I'm not mistaken, it's actually only the male saddle-billed stork that has this. I think the female lacks that patch. Now, I'm not sure. I haven't particularly noticed it on anybody else. I think that may be unique to the saddle-billed storks, but I do stand corrected. I suppose this time I'll have to page through all of the different storks and see if it is noticeable. But you really only see it on these beautiful birds, though. And this is always a highlight to see with your guests. This is one of my favorite birds. Even guests or people who come and visit us that aren't particularly interested in birds, it's very, very easy to see this impressive bird and sort of sit and watch it I've sat and watched for an hour and a half before watching saddle-billed stork fish in a drying up pond. But isn't that just a lovely scene as well? There's a giraffe. Now that it's had a drink, it's going to go off for something to eat. I'm going to munch away for a little bit. Beautiful giraffe. Now the wind is also picking up. You can see the trees moving around quite a bit. We've got Mr. Buffalo repositioning now. Or actually, it looks like it's going to have a drink. There's so much action going on here. I don't know where to watch anymore. No, just repositioning. All those beautiful ripples in the water as well as it sits down. Now you should start to see a lot of terrapins moving around this buffalo as well. You'll be surprised, but the little terrapins will actually swim right up to the buffalo, like they do with the hippos, but remove parasites from them. Now, every now and then you see one jump up, then unfortunately the terrapin has grabbed the wrong part of the buffalo. Now Belinda, you're wondering, what do terrapins eat? They eat a variety of different things. Insects. They also eat, like I said, the ticks off of the different animals, especially like buffalo and rhinos that like to wallow in water and sit there for long periods of time. Hippos, I don't really see them feeding too much off of hippos. They really just use them as rocks to sunbathe. And occasionally they will eat a little bit of plant matter too. But they will I've even seen them scavenging before off carcasses that were in the water. Well, they eat a variety of different things. I don't think that they're particularly fussy. That it's so funny, look at all of them. There's so many of them swimming around here. Now they must be doing that, opening their mouths like this is a behavior that I haven't actually seen before, so I'm just assuming that it must be because they're hot and they're trying to cool them down, themselves down some way by sort of increasing their intake of air. Like I said, I don't think that this water is actually very cool. It's not very deep, so I'm sure it warms up quite quickly. And there isn't very much shade around this dam either, so everything is baking right in the sun. Isn't that lovely? You can see, I just can't get enough of these saddle-billed storks. Now, speaking of them being monogamous, and which means that they generally will mate for life or for a season. Now, we've been seeing Mr. and Mrs. Magpie shrike quite a few times. Sorry, I'm just shifting a little bit. It's very hot and uncomfortable today. And it's a little bit different in terms of sort of the making of the nest. Both of them will help make the nest, which is the same, I suppose, as the magpie shrikes. But they both take turns at sitting on their eggs. So like ostriches, big birds. And then the female will sit for a couple of hours, and she'll get up and off she will go, and then the male will come down and he will sit too. And for such big creatures, I think that they lay quite a few eggs. They normally lay anywhere between 2 and 4 eggs. Now, Aaron from New Zealand, you're wondering what the size difference between a marabou stork and of course a saddle-billed stork is. Well, I'm going to have to just double check in my book, so let me very quickly look while you have a look at this, of course, this beautiful stork. I'm not sure exactly, so we will try and get height as well as wingspan. So the saddle-billed stork height is 1.5 meters and has a wingspan of 2.7 meters. Oh, wow. Okay, now we'll go to the marabou stork. And they stand at 1.52 meters. I'm just quickly having a very look. I've got my little app on my phone that you can see, so it's quite difficult. Now I'm just scrolling. I want to try and find out over here the wingspan. Oh, wow. The wingspan is 2.5 meters. So it's actually almost even, barring a couple of centimeters. So Aaron, I think you could probably be sort of fair and say that they're pretty much exactly the same size. Like I said, barring just a couple of centimeters. But both really, really large birds. I just want to double check the weight. So it seems as though the marabou stork weighs up to about 7 kilograms. That's quite large, actually. And, okay, so weight, the marabou stork wins because the saddle-billed stork only gets to about 6 kilograms. There's a slight difference over there. But he doesn't seem to be fishing at the moment. They seem just ready to be sort of catching up on some daily grooming. However, unlike the saddlebill storks, of course, we've got Mr. and Mrs. Egyptian goose wading around in this pan of water, filter feeding. And they also eat grass. You often see the Egyptian geese out on golf courses. I've said this quite a few times. That's sort of in South Africa. If you want to see an Egyptian goose, well, you go to a golf course. And of course, they plague all the watering holes as well as the fairways. That lovely green grass they'll go through and they will munch away. And quite lovely birds as well. As much of a pest as that they can be in the country, I think that they are lovely with those beautiful markings. Hello, Henry. You can see, of course, we know that this is Henry because he's got the injury on his back. And, of course, he is fast asleep. Here we go. But it looks like it's healing quite nicely. The other day when we saw it, it looked like it was quite a bad gash. Well, this is the third time that we're seeing it now. But it seems to be healing, and we still don't know what has happened to him. Perhaps it was that young imposter that has stolen his spot at the Djuma Dam. Maybe Henry has sort of met his match now, and the younger upstart is now taking his place. That could be a possibility. Now, Mr. Henry, I hope that you are secreting lots of your blood sweat or your hyposudoric acid today, as it is very hot and I'm very concerned about your eyes and your ears. I hope he's taking care and applied lots of sunscreen, as myself and David will be doing throughout the day. Though it's going to be quite difficult for me to do my sunscreen today. Perhaps if I stick my face in the sun, I'll tan these black stripes, and then I will have stripes forever. I'm not sure. I don't know if I want to try it, though. That could be quite awkward. Or the other thing is that I'm either going to take the sunscreen, put it on, and then eventually I'll just have a completely black face. Well, then maybe I won't get burnt. Maybe that's a new technique I'll just have to do. But I think let's move on from this beautiful dam. Buffelshoek Dam has been wonderful to us this afternoon. But we have a date with the Nkuhumas and some elephants. Preferably some elephants first and then the Nkuhumas a little bit later. As I can imagine, it's not going to be... I don't think they're going to be particularly active right now. I think it's a bit too warm for them. But wasn't that nice to have a quick little glimpse at those saddle-billed stork? I thought it was quite lovely. And off we go. I actually should probably let some of the guides know, because they don't come around too often, and I'm sure that they would enjoy to show their guests at, and of course of just the beautiful sighting, the terrapins, the hippo, all these wonderful things. Let them know. If there's any mobiles out and about, a very nice sighting at Buffelshoek Dam. There's saddle-billed storks, as well as buffalo and hippo and a giraffe. There we go. Duty done for the day. Right, now we're going to carry on. Like I said, we're going to try and search for some elephants along the way, and while we look for some of the largest animals in Africa, let's go back to James and see how Karula's doing.
Right, well, Karula's doing fine. Her cubs are just over there, which we'll take you to now. I just wanted to show you this giant hole in the ground.
Because they looks like no blood on them.
Look at that.
They might have fed a little bit, but they would...
That is the hole of an aardvark, everybody. The aardvark, ant bear, and this is a warren where it obviously had a home. Now, we are going to go through over the top between two warrens to try and get a better view of the cubs. It's entirely possible that I will lose the front of the vehicle into a hole, in which case Tayla will have to handle the rest of the day. So far, so good, Brian. Sure. Now, Karula is off to the right-hand side there. The cubs are now probably about 50 or 60 meters from her. Oh, look at them. They're too cute now. Brian, say when you've got a decent view. Okay. Look at that. Isn't that sweet? Marvelous. Can't Can't believe our luck. That's so cool to see. Isn't that gorgeous? Louise, I do have you, yes. I do excuse the pinging, everybody. That's just my Louise being able to talk to me. So sweet. We shall obviously miss these two cats terribly when they go independent. And in the case of Hoshana, the male, that will probably not be for some time. We might even have him for more than a year. But in the case of Shongile, it could be any time from now. Now would be very early, but it could be any time from now. It's difficult to think of these little things being independent and able to look after themselves. They are so fat and full of impala. They are also so tired after all of the eating and all of the heat that they've had to deal with today. Very hot indeed. Now, while we wait for them to do, well, not a great deal at all, it is beholden on me to tell you that the Nkuhuma Pride, slayers of buffalo that they are, have indeed slayed another buffalo, and that happened sometime during this morning. So they've done very well. I'm not sure if they're eating it. I'm not sure what's going on there, but Tayla will pop in when it gets a bit cooler. Now, Afra, one of the only reasons we know that we do get aardvark in this area, well, there are three reasons. The first is that we drive into their holes fairly regularly. The second is that they leave their tracks on the road, and Steph certainly, when he's out on bushwalk, quite often finds them. The third is that Tingana, and this will semi-answer your second question, Tingana has been seen with, I think, 3 or 4 aardvark, if I'm not mistaken, dragged into trees where he eats them. I think Karula would be probably, I mean, she could kill an aardvark, but I think she'd probably prefer to take something slightly less robust, if you like. She'd definitely take a young one, but she doesn't seem to specialize in them, but she could kill one. But Tingana, big male leopard, he made something of a speciality for a little while, killing aardvark. And the reason I say aardvark and not aardvark is that aardvark sounds wrong to me, and aardvark is very satisfying to say. Give it a go, Brian.
Aardvark.
You see, aardvark, it's really quite pleasant. It rolls off the tongue. There is a very pleasant breeze blowing now, so it's not as hot as it might be. You're all right there, Brian?
I'm okay. For now.
Yes, we might have to get Brian into the shade fairly soon. In the background, the lovely call, 2 lovely calls. One, the liquid call of the black-headed oriole going loot-loop, 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 loot-loop. Doesn't actually sound like that at all, but something like that. And then also the black-crowned chagra. It's a bit of a mournful call, but it's very beautiful. Now, everybody, I know that the sky is blue today. In fact, it's white. It's been so burnt out by the sun. You can hear my throat is scratchy from the dryness. But tomorrow, apparently there's going to be rain. You don't believe the weather forecast, do you, Brian?
Well, one can never believe the weatherman out here.
The weatherman talks foul and contemptible untruths to us on a regular basis. He promises us rain, and we sit and sweat, hoping for water and moisture to wet our tongues, that we can just wet our lips slightly and feel the life-giving force of water. That's enough of that, probably. Let's go back to the leopards. Sorry, everyone, I don't know where that came from. I was suddenly feeling quite theatrical. Quite off my head. Okay, good. Well, there the leopards are. I'm afraid they're not going to do a great deal for the next little while, but one of them will eventually get up and decide to go and have something to eat. Either that or they'll decide to go and say hello to Mother. Hello, sleep. You say Happy Halloween, and what is the spookiest moment I've ever had on drive? Oh. I shiver when I think of it. I go pale and quake in my boots. I think the spookiest moment I've ever had on drive was when Brentley Smith leapt out of a bush at me while I was driving along, and I then said, I can't say what I said, it was a very bad word, but that was a very spooky time. I must confess I haven't had a hugely spooky time of it out here. I think it's the night time in the bush is quite spooky. I'm just quickly going to talk on the Game Drive channel. I think I think Herbie might be trying to get in here. Last station, who are you calling?
Looking for you, madam. And I'm interested in joining your sighting.
It's Herbert. I think he's driving tonight.
Impala play.
Herbie, from the junction of Ballinites and Impala Road, we're about... In fact, the best route to come in, Herb, you know that big scotia tree or the weeping boerbean on the termite mound there? If you go to that point, I'll get you audio, and you just head northeast from there by about east, not far.
Okay, copy, thanks.
Look at the little things panting away. And out here, it really is a story of triumph and tragedy so often. That's why it makes such compelling viewing. It's why it makes such compelling storytelling out here. Here we have Karula, possibly the most successful leopard I've ever met. Her 10th babies lying there in complete peace. Now, she's watching them, make no mistake of it. When we approached them, I made sure that I didn't break her line of sight with them. Whether that would have made a difference to her or not, I don't know. But and then you have Shadow, who is now seemingly pushed out of her old territory. The Ingrid female's been in her territory. We've seen Karula in her territory. We've seen Salayeshe even from the north of Simbambili pushing down into her territory. She hasn't raised one cub to sort of maturity yet. Now, she has semi-raised one, which was Sindila, but I suspect quite strongly that he would have died had we not removed him from here on account of his rabies outbreak, or rabies, potential rabies infection. And then you have Tundi, who has been marginally successful, but nothing like her mother, and she's just lost a cub to the lions. And I think it sometimes seems, although we were given a harsh reminder the other day when we watched the baboons chasing little Hosanna up a tree and trying to pull him out of the tree, sometimes might seem as though it's, it's fairly idyllic. It's fairly easy to raise cubs out here. I suppose some of the time it is, but a great deal of the time, there's a small chance always that something's going to happen, and it's the prepared people and leopards out here that make it through those times. They're constantly aware. They never let their guard down, and I think Karula's one of those, and I think that's why she's managed to raise these cubs the way she has. Yeah, Doodles, you are sharing the thoughts of many when you say you hope that when Shongile goes independent, she will take a territory quite close to her mother's. She will almost certainly do that, but you also say that you hope that she'll stay within our traverse area. The thing is, Doodles, if I may call you by your first name, Doodles, the thing is, a leopardess's territory in this particular area is around about 15 square kilometers, which is about 1,500 hectares, which is bigger than the land we're on now, which means that although she might set up, I suppose she could set up in Arathusa, and then we could have them right next to each other, but she won't do it on Djuma. There's no way that both of their territories will be on Djuma completely. There might be little pieces of them onto Djuma, but they won't both be onto Djuma. Right, I think we're going to move slightly just to put a little bit of shade over Brian's head. And while we do that, let's head across to Tayla and get an update from her. She can tell you a little bit about her lion experience earlier on today.
Now, we're almost actually at the Nkuhumas. We're not too far from them, but we bumped into a kudu who is all on her own. I can't see the rest of her family. I hope that they are around. We know that it's never nice to be out in the bush all on your own with no other eyes and ears to back you up. It's always quite tough. Now, of course, I've changed my face again, and I suppose you want to have a look. But I'm not going to tell you what I am. I'm going to wait for you to guess. So please send in your answers as to what animal you think I am. #SafariLive on Twitter, or you can send your answer through to questions@wildearth.tv. Hope you got a good view of this, because of course it is going to change throughout the entire show. Now, I believe we had a question earlier from Sleep, who was wondering what my spookiest moment was in the bush. Now, I've been trying to think of it, and I can't think spooky-wise. Probably one of the creepier moments was actually while I was here at Wild Earth, when we switched off all the lights and we switched on to infrared. Now, when we put infrared on, of course, we don't actually have sight of anything at all. And, well, we had the lions roaring quite a bit, and then they moved around and shuffled around, but we didn't even see them shuffling. David, you were with me that night. And then the next minute, a male lion started to roar, and he happened to be literally right in front of the vehicle, but we didn't even know he was there. He'd shuffled around. Oh my goodness, finally, I found an elephant for us. Here we go. So we're going to take a little bit of a long distance view. So that was probably my spookiest or creepiest moment that I had, just because I've never felt so disorientated before like that. And it looks as though we have got a big elephant bull who is feeding along this drainage line. And you know what, so far my day is going to plan. I said that I'd like to see an elephant or a group of elephants before we got to the lions, and we're not far from the lions at all. Isn't he beautiful? He looks like he may have had a mud bath already, though I suspect that the elephants probably would have had lots of mud baths today. Well done, Lynn, Kathy, Green Eyes, for guessing correct. Of course, I am indeed a cheater this afternoon. Well, I'm a cheater for now. And you don't know what my next outfit is going to be, of course. However, my mascara pencil is running very short. I should have brought 2 of them. It is very hot, as you can see. But let's have one little look. I'm actually wondering if this elephant is going to go and have a drink or something. The only problem is that I know that from driving in here yesterday afternoon, spending the afternoon with Nkuhumas down in exactly the same spot, we saw all those beautiful mud wallows. Let's go up a little bit further. Perhaps he will actually pass them and go towards the dam. But if I was an elephant and I had a choice, I'd rather go for the water that's sitting in the shade and probably be a bit cooler. And let's have a little look. Maybe there's some elephants at the dam already. So, I know James wanted me to tell you about the lion story. I'm not going to tell you just yet. Actually, he's quite big. We've got a gap of him here. I will tell you when we eventually see the Nkuhumas about my exciting moment with them this afternoon. There he is. He's a lovely chap. I'm so glad you're also all enjoying my face paint this afternoon. I'm actually really enjoying it. I'm getting to test my creative side out, of course. Now, we all know exactly why that elephant is flapping his ears today. I don't think it's to do with too much of the insects, but it is hot out here, and I'm sure that when you had a look at my face, you could see how shiny I was. And unfortunately, no, that's not baby oil. It is the perspiration, because it is unbearably hot. There was a breeze at one point. It is now gone. And there's not actually even too many flies out here because of the heat. And he's got a nice spot there, standing under a couple of trees, so he's keeping in the shade. He does look like he's already covered himself in some mud. But I don't think that that's going to stop him. I think he will continue as he sort of gets to another watering hole. I think there's another elephant with him. I can just see a couple of branches moving, perhaps a younger elephant bull moving along here, but he looks relatively old, sort of middle-aged, probably between 30 and 40 years. He looks quite large. Right, let's quickly carry on, and let's have a look at the dam before we go to the lions. They're not far from here. And just do a little scan and see what's happening down here. Maybe there's something interesting, of course. You never know what's around the next corner. Oh, I can actually, well, I'm not sure what's going on. I just want to get on the radio. Before we go to the dam, let's just have a look here. Let's see. I can see the lions have moved away, but now they're not in the same spot as what they were. There they are down there. Let me just chat to Aubrey. Aubrey for Tayla. Okay, copy. So there's 2 locks now of 2 different Ngala sightings. No, Matata will take a long range for a couple of minutes. Okay, so we can see the lines down there now. Maybe I'll tell you the story. They have moved, sorry, I'm just rolling back quickly a little bit. They've moved quite a distance from today. They've been doing some incredible things. So I was out for a little exercise and I'm doing a run, and the next moment I heard stampeding. Now, that made me very nervous, considering my last encounter with a buffalo, of course. So I sort of looked around and said, which tree am I going to go up? Because I didn't know where they were coming from. And I was on quarantine, and it sounded as if everything was happening on that beautiful open area, sort of just by the Duma Dam. Well, and then I heard the distress call of course, a buffalo, which was very sad. And, well, it seems as though it looks like they've caught another buffalo, doesn't it? We're going to go around a little bit closer. There's just a couple of vehicles there. And we heard this distress call, so we quickly all raced into the vehicle, and we found the lions to be on a kill, but not this one. This is another one. So today, they have killed 2 buffalo in the space of just a couple of hours in the heat of the day. Now, I know that it's quite sad, unfortunately, to see this buffalo and all the buffalo that we have been seeing being taken down by the lions, but very, very important, of course, that, well, we have to understand that this is, of course, nature, and the buffalo are weakened at the moment with the drought conditions. Now, you can see that buffalo is still moving, but I'm sure that it's on its absolute last legs. But I think let's go a little bit closer. Let's go down and have a look now. That is just unbelievable. These lions are just unstoppable. Really, they are unstoppable. So every now and then I can feel the black eyeliner. I don't know why I've been saying mascara the whole time, because I haven't been drawing with mascara. I've been drawing with an eyeliner pencil. And I can just feel it every now and then running down into my mouth, and it doesn't taste very nice, and I don't think you should eat cosmetic products. But let's go across the dam wall. Now, I'm sure I'm going to get lots of strange looks, of course, when I get into the sighting, probably thinking, what's going on with this strange blonde girl? What is she doing? But that's okay, I don't mind so much. Sorry, I just stopped to listen to the radio very quickly. Right, let's have a look. Seems like one of the lionesses is coming down. It's going to reposition slightly. Copy, thanks. It's no matata. I can take a long range. I've got a big zoom on my camera. So there's quite a few vehicles here. I don't want to overcrowd this sighting. So I'm rather going to give these lions some room. And what I'm going to do is I actually want to reposition again. I want to go up further ahead. I know this is an amazing view here, but I'm going to try a different view. Let's just very quickly just move. Sorry, everybody. I know it's being a little bit... Just need to do this. I just feel like if we park here, we may sort of be circling and squashing everybody in. So we'd rather give a big open space on the one side, that if this buffalo does, for some reason, be able to run and get away from these lions, that they're able to have much more room to do so. We'll just stop around here. This is incredible. These lions are unbelievable. Sorry, please bear with me for just a moment. We're almost there. Here we go. Now we're going to have another view, a proper view. Wowee. Now, this is quite amazing. We're obviously seeing the little cubs get involved now, which is actually quite unusual. Normally they only start joining in on hunts a little bit older, but perhaps because they've been in the area, they weren't too far from here, and these lionesses made the opportunity and were able to snatch up a little buffalo calf, a little unsuspecting calf. This is perfect practice for them. They're able to now really practice all those moves that we're seeing. Biting of the nose, biting the jugular. Now, Safari, you've asked a fantastic question. You're wondering if the lionesses are doing this to try and show the lion cubs how to make a kill. Normally, we don't really see that with lions. We typically see it with cheetah, and I've seen it once with a leopard before. But because it's such a small buffalo, I wonder if that's not perhaps the case. I mean, this is new to me. I've never seen sort of this before, where the females, as it sort of gets up, they just pull it back down to the ground and let the little one... See that one jumping on its head? Now, I don't think that these little cubs will be able to suffocate this buffalo. Unfortunately, their jaws just aren't big and powerful enough just yet, so the females are going to have to end up putting it out of its misery, and hopefully they do so quite quickly. But you can see the cubs have sort of lost a bit of interest, or a couple of them now. They're more interested in playing with a lioness's legs. So you can see they don't know what to do with this little buffalo. I'm just shifting around. This is incredible. I might even take one or two pictures. They just continue to blow my mind, these Nkuhumas. Now, and including the one that they killed earlier today, was a juvenile buffalo. I know that our Beard was wondering, are the lionesses intentionally choosing these young ones so the cubs can learn? The other juvenile that they killed earlier today, the cubs weren't present, the adults did it, and then I presume that they went to fetch them a little bit later in the day. So I don't think it's intentional. I think it's just sort of opportunistic. Is that maybe there was a mom and calf walking through this area, coming down to wallow in that nice water where we often see Henry, or even down at the pan to have a drink, and these lions were sitting down close by, and because they would have had a bite to eat earlier today, they would have needed to have come and had a drink. Of course, the water helps aid in digestion, and well, it's extremely hot, so it would benefit them to come and have a drink and try and cool down. And I think that's what happened. I think this is sort of just happened. Maybe in the last 40 minutes or so. Maybe in the last hour. I'm very uncertain. The last time I heard, I had to turn the radio off, of course, is that they weren't doing very much. But it just shows you how quickly things can happen out here in the bush. Even when you see sleeping lions, they can jump up and turn into expert hunters in just a matter of minutes, even seconds. But you can see that one on the top of the buffalo now, trying to practice, of course, that very important position of, or whoever it ends up being, of the one lion that will jump onto the buffalo's back and try and bite the spinal column. And remember, they do that really, especially with the bigger buffalo, just to try and increase the blood flow. Because when you start to lose blood, you become weaker and you can go into shock. And ideally, that's what they want to do. They want to weaken their prey as quick as possible, especially when it's something so large, unlike an impala, which they'd be able to sort of kill in a matter of minutes. But something like a buffalo, even a buffalo calf, could take some time. You can see it's putting up a serious fight. And it's as if that lioness is just sort of there watching, just making sure things don't get out of hand, that buffalo doesn't get up and run again. Oh, careful, little cub. Now, this is actually very important. Like I said, I don't think this happens very often. I've never seen it before. Those cubs are going to have to be careful of those buffalo's hooves, because even though this buffalo is quite small, if it gets out a big kick like we just saw and it connects in the face, well, those little cubs could sustain some injury from it. So they better be very, very careful and learn quickly. This is just absolutely unbelievable. I'm going to sit quietly because we can still hear this buffalo distressing slightly. Now, Betty, you're wondering, looking at this buffalo, if it's got some kind of an intestinal issue, as its belly is quite swollen. It does look rather large, doesn't it? Now, I'm actually not certain why it's so bloated. Perhaps maybe it got left behind from the herd. Maybe it got separated. Possibly there weren't even any adult buffalo around. And instinct told it to come down to the water. Obviously, it's nice and cool. So I'm a little bit, I'm not sure. I don't think that could have been caused by now. I mean, that's a severely bloated belly. Kicking up quite a bit of dust. This is outstanding. Trying to work out how many lions are here. 1, 2, 3, 4 lionesses, and I can see 1 male. And I think that all the cubs are here. Now we've got the lionesses. They're taking charge of this buffalo again. This is unbelievable. There we go. She's going in for the throat grip. And remember, we are live and this is the wild, so if you are a bit sensitive to something like this, this would probably be the perfect moment to go and make a cup of tea and perhaps some toast. It is very, very sad, of course, to see something like this, but in the same breath, we are also privileged to be able and sitting and witnessing things like this. I know guides who have worked in the bush for I don't know how many years and have never seen lions taking down prey, always getting there just too late. So the fact that we've been able to see something like this so often, really consider yourselves lucky. Remember, if this buffalo was unfortunately ill of some kind, it would have probably died on its own. And it would have fed the vultures, it would have fed the hyenas. But it seems as though obviously the lions have got to it first. Remember, they've got to fill all those little cubs' bellies to ensure their survival as well. That's one of the most important things. I'm also quite thankful that we've got a bit of a breeze coming through again. Come on, little buffalo, go to sleep. See, those cubs don't really know what to do. You can see they're just sort of biting wherever they can. The ones at the back had an idea. They were biting on the rump, licking on the rump, which is, we know why they do this, to try and increase the blood flow. Like I said, very similar to what they do on the spine, but a dangerous spot to be in right at the back there. I think the lionesses have had enough now of these little ones playing around. Now, Thomas, you're wondering where the rest of the buffalo herd is and why they didn't come back to save this little calf. I haven't seen any buffalo around here, and I know you said that you think that this buffalo probably couldn't be alone at its age, but if it was ill and it fell behind, the herd could have quite easily moved off and left it stranded. Myself and David, as we were driving along this afternoon, we saw a couple of buffalo on their own, but adults. And I think that the Nkuhumas have been sort of splitting up the herds quite a bit, especially, remember, they did catch another juvenile buffalo earlier today. So maybe in the commotion of that, this little one got separated. We can only really speculate as to what happened because we didn't see the kill from start to finish. Maybe the herd was away, but maybe it wasn't a big herd. See, unfortunately, now we don't get to see the big breeding herds of buffaloes because there's food available. Those big herds have split up and into smaller groups now. So sometimes you only see a handful of females together, and only a couple of buffalo versus the very impressive Nkuhuma pride as well as the Birminghams. It's easier enough for them to turn and chase the rest of the buffalo away. And to a point, those buffalo will not want to risk their lives anymore and will actually move off and move away. I'm not hearing so many distress or too much of a distress call coming from that buffalo now. Remember, it is extremely hot out here at the moment. And that buffalo could also get quite exhausted sitting out in the sun, out in the heat of the day. So it unfortunately has a number of elements against it this afternoon. Here are the cubs fighting. One of the little cubs is clearly not interested in the buffalo at all. It's on the tree. Now, Afa, you're wondering if I've ever gotten emotional over a sighting sort of similar to this, where the animals is playing with their kill rather than, killing it instantly. And of course I have. Especially very on in my sort of early guiding days. I remember seeing my first kill, and it was absolutely horrific. But I knew that it was nature. I mean, I used to be the kind of person, and I've done safaris my entire life, that even on TV, if I was watching a documentary and they were about to show a kill, I would change the channel. I wouldn't watch it. I wouldn't watch anything where any animals were harmed. But as I started to get older and I started to study and I understood everything behind it, I sort of come to realize that this is one of these things. This is what happened before humans were even around, is that these animals lived like this. The buffalo went around eating, and of course the lions would be in hot pursuit looking for something to eat. It's the same thing. Imagine if there weren't any herbivores around to eat, we wouldn't have any predators. I don't think anybody would even like to see a starving lion. That would be probably, to me, because we love these lions so much, we know these lions, we've built relationships with them. I think that it would be even more sad to see an emaciated lion, sort of, than how we would feel when we see a dying buffalo. It is all very sad, but we just have to sort of remove that human emotion from a sighting like this and just take it for what it is and look at them as its predator or prey. If the lions don't eat, well, then they die. These two little cubs are not interested in learning anymore, though. They were more interested in chasing a bird and now playing with each other. And we'll probably reposition again once Aubrey's probably, I think he's going to move out of the sighting, and then we'll maybe be able to get a little bit closer. We're quite far away, actually. We're probably about 70 meters away from the sighting. I know that they're out in the open and it is lovely, but like I said, I'm going to give them space because there's so many cars here. We all want to see this. You can hear those ones at the back fighting. Oh no, there's my favorite lion. Is that her? With the floppy ear? The one on the left? Yes, it looks like it. Hey, my favorite little girl. Yes, my mangy little lion. The one with the biggest personality, I think, of all of the little cubs. This is just absolutely incredible. You can see that, I think that buffalo is still breathing slightly. But I think the heat of the day is probably going to get to it as well. Sorry, we're just shuffling a couple of things around in the vehicle. You can see the little ones are quite tired, and I think that they've done quite a bit of work today. Running around in the hot sun, of course, now practicing techniques that they've been practicing on each other. You can see that little one got a bit of a fright there, obviously, as that buffalo kicked around. That buffalo is still going. And these two little ones, of course, playing up on the log. Like I said, the lions, especially these little cubs, they are very much fascinated by fallen trees. And, well, just trees in general. It's quite lovely to see them practicing their balancing acts, and I think it's so important for the development and strengthening of muscles as they grow. Right, we're not going to go anywhere. We're going to sit with these beautiful nkuhumas for a little bit longer, but I think let's quickly go back across to James and see how he's going.
And we're live. Hello, everybody. Unlike the buffalo you've just been watching, we are live. I am astounded at Tayla's ability to see buffalo being killed live. 3 in less than, 2 weeks or so? I think that's pretty impressive, really. Anyway, quite a harrowing experience, I imagine, for many of you, so I apologize if it was harrowing to any of you, but of course it wasn't nearly as harrowing for you as it was for the buffalo, which is now no longer with us. Karula has moved very slightly. She came up here, she called one of the cubs who's gone off to have something to eat, and we'll head towards there. I've just got to be very careful right now because we're in amongst a great warren, like I said, of aardvark holes, and we don't want to fall into one of them. And I just want to wait and see if the other one doesn't come across here. And I can just see the white belly of, I think it's Hosanna, still under the shade there. And he doesn't seem to be making any move to come towards the kill. So what we'll do is give him another 1 minute exactly, and then we'll head down towards the kill site and watch the youngster feeding. There we are. No, he's not going anywhere, is he, Brian? No. Very tired indeed. And of course it is very tiring being a leopard out here. No sugar to eat at all, and so you must metabolize fat, which is just takes a little bit more out of you. I think we're going to try and go around this way. Hold on, everyone. What an amazing day we're having. These magnificent leopards and those lions killing not 1 but 2 buffalo in 1 day. Now, what is also amazing to me is that the buffalo that was just recently met its end must have heard the other one being killed right around there earlier today. Must have, because I'm pretty sorry about that, Brian. I'm pretty sure that it came from that herd that we saw, that Veerman and I saw early this morning, sitting around about Central Road, quite sort of approaching Djuma Dam. And why they were so gormless as to come anywhere near those lions, when the lions have been there for, well, in and around that area for months now. The buffalo seems to be slow of brain. Right, Louise, I have you again. Hello, James. You're asking about Karula's new name and whether the new spelling has an aspirated H in it. I must reiterate here, Karula's name has not changed. We've kept her name the same. Is she at the kill, Brian, or can you? She's on the termite mound. Gosh, that's magnificent. Her name will remain the same, Karula, because that's what she's been called. And the whole point of our little video was just to say, look, Karula, Karula, is not a Shangaan word meaning peaceful, and we don't want to antagonize anybody who's been calling her Karula for a long time. That's absolutely fine. But out of deference to the Shangaan people of this area, we felt it important just to correct the fact that Karula, Karula, does not mean peaceful. Anyway, if you were to pronounce the word Kurula, it's a very subtle, which is spelled K-U-R, Kuru, K-U-R-H-U-L-A, Kurula. And the H is almost completely silent. It's very slightly aspirated, which means you put a little bit of a at the end of the R. Now, if you're a Shangaan or Xitsonga speaker, you'll be able to hear the difference between the two. I cannot hear the difference between, if you were to write that word with an R or without an R, I wouldn't be able to tell you the difference. But it is slightly aspirated, so it would be Kurula. It's almost Kurhula, but a very soft sort of version of Kurhula. If that makes sense, James. So to reiterate, we have not renamed the leopard because everybody calls her Karula. But it is just to remind, in deference to the beautiful language that is Xitsonga, that does not mean, it does not mean peaceful. And I know that's caused a little bit of consternation for some, but it really wasn't intended to in the slightest. It's just very important that we show due deference. Oh, look at the flies. Look at that. Thousands of those nasty sort of red-eyed and blue-bottled flies. Yuck. And that, I'm afraid, is the little fetus being eaten there. Well, that's the stomach that she's having a go at. I suspect the rest of them will come up here fairly soon. Brian, I'm going to shift you slightly forward because I think you'll get a ever so slightly better view if I move a meter or so. What do you think? Yeah? There we go. I've said she, I think that's Shongile. Yeah, it is. Is it? There's the beauty spot there. I must confess it doesn't look very appetizing to me, does it? Not at all. Now, Karula, one of the reasons she's been so successful, of course, is because she so cleverly hides these kills. There's no ways any vulture's going to see that. If a vulture doesn't see it until it starts to rot, there's no lion or hyena that will find it. She's bringing the fetus out here. This is just amazing stuff. We're parked really, well, what's that, Brian, about 8 meters and 10 meters maybe from her. That's 30 feet or so. Not a care in the world she has around us. And as the sun starts to set, we will try and get to the other side. And just to reiterate, we have called this in many times, and there seem to be no game drive vehicles coming this way, and that's on account of the fact that there is there's that astounding sighting going on at Buffels, at least at the Djuma Dam. Well, this is highly satisfying, isn't it, Brian? Got a nice gentle wind blowing nicely. Jen B, what a very, very macabre joke you've made there, but it is Halloween, so we'll let it go. You say you don't suppose that we can count this C-section of the Impala lamb as the first Impala lamb. Jen B, no, you may not. Absolutely not. Very, very macabre. Okay, I'm going to move again. We've got some space around here, so I think... let's just see if she doesn't take it somewhere more visible.
James, come in.
I'm just going to answer Lex. Go, Lex. Go ahead, Lex.
James, how many vehicles are with you?
I am alone.
Why don't you come in there? That's okay with you?
It's absolutely fine.
Thanks, James.
Gorgeous stuff. Lex is going to come through.
Good afternoon, mobile station. Any update?
Using the carnassial teeth, which of course most of you have heard about, those molars at the back of the jaw that help them to slice the meat off. You don't often see them using them, of course. And the tongue cleaning off bits that she doesn't want to eat. Hair. Right, I'm going to try and get a slightly better position at this sighting, everyone. While we do that, let's head back across to the lions and see if they're actually bothering to eat this buffalo or just leaving it.
So we're still back here with the Nkahumas, and they don't seem to be biting the buffalo so much anymore. The little ones seem to see, or find, of course, that fallen tree stump much more entertaining now. And that's the problem with these young little cubs, is this is a vital lesson that they probably don't appreciate just yet, or they probably don't realize how important this is going to be to them one day. And of course, their attention has now gone to something else, of course, which happens to be the tree stump. I'm getting all sorts of interesting looks this afternoon as everybody drives past and looks at my wonderful face paint. Hello! So I'm just saying hello to everyone. And I've changed my wardrobe as well. I suppose, okay, let's quickly show you what I am now, because I've now wiped my face again. Can you guess what I am now? It's a difficult one. Let me just move my hair out of my face. Now, there's a key identifying feature on my nose. Can you see that?
Can you just turn
This way?
away?
That way?
Thank you.
Can you see that? Who am I? That should easily give it away. No, I don't know if that buffalo is still alive. I haven't seen it kicking anymore. Let's see. No, there we go. It is still kicking, unfortunately. You can see those little cubs are starting to bite around on the sort of rear end there. But they're not, unfortunately, doing the damage that an adult lion would do. And the other lions are just sitting in the distance, not really paying too much attention. I think that they've still got full bellies. Oh, look at it, it's up again. Now, this is the adrenaline pumping through this buffalo. Let's see what happens. You can see all the little cubs have gotten excited again. Come on, little buffalo, make a run for it. This is absolutely incredible. I hope you're all snapping and taking screenshots, as I don't think we'll see something like this too soon. No, it's a very, very special occasion to see all the pride. Look at that little cub. Look at how incredible it was, jumping straight onto the back of the buffalo, which is exactly what its mother would have taught it to do. Here we go, and the lioness now going in to try and suffocate that buffalo, little buffalo calf. What incredible strength it has. Now the lioness coming in to see what's going on. One of the males is up. I'm not sure if it's Tinyo or Mfumo just yet. That log is perfectly positioned on his face to be able to see who he is. I did see Tinyo though, lurking around earlier this afternoon, so perhaps it's him, but we'll have to wait until we get a better look. Hopefully this will be the last time that this lioness has to suffocate this buffalo. I'm just trying to look very carefully to see if this buffalo has passed on. No, I think it's still alive. It's unfortunately getting weaker and weaker as the afternoon goes on. And this is what I love. Is that every single day you go out in the bush, and it doesn't matter how long you've been doing this for, you will always see new behavior, or find a new bird, a new insect, something that you've been looking for ages, or you've perhaps just heard about. This is just an incredible afternoon. Now, Janice and Mind Warp, you were very, very good this afternoon. You guessed correctly. They guessed that I was Nana, one of the male Birminghams, which of course I am. And that's one of the key identifying features, of course, is that equal sign scar that he has got on his nose. And that's probably the only way that you would have guessed that he was him, or that I was him. Because I don't think I look anything like a lion this afternoon. Oh, you can see that little one seems to have pulled a bit of intestines or something out. I'm not sure what it's got. And that is incredible that that little one has done that all on its own without the help of any of the adults. Really, this is going to be a sighting to remember, and one that is going to be talked about for quite some time. I haven't seen that buffalo. No, is it still making a noise? Yeah, I think I can still see his little nose moving around occasionally. Remember, this is obviously quite gruesome. So like we said, if you're perhaps not too keen on seeing something like this, we understand how sensitive it is. You're more than welcome to make a cup of tea very quickly, or grab yourself a nice cool drink and add extra ice. And just step away for a little bit, and we'll always catch you up on the details if there is anything that you did miss. And hopefully the adrenaline is just pumping through its veins, that it doesn't indeed feel all of that pain. That's the only good thing about adrenaline, is that you can feel human. Often people who say that they've been in car accidents and sustained broken bones didn't even know that they had any broken bones until afterwards. Now I was wondering what the lions are watching, and it seems as though a little bushbuck has just popped out of the fence and out of the lodge. Can you see it all the way down there? You could see those adults were looking at it. Is it outside the fence yet? No, it's still inside. Well, you're very lucky, Mr. Bushbuck. Isn't he quite a beautiful specimen? This is, of course, one of the fences to the lodges. This is happening right outside for your Tayla on Duma. Isn't that amazing? You really wouldn't have even needed to go off of your porch this afternoon. You could have sat right there on the deck watching these beautiful lions. I don't think the bushbuck is going to want to come out now. I think it's going to rethink its plans and possibly stay behind the fence and eat all the nice green grass and manicured plants around the lodge. If you do come out, oh no, it is coming out. I'm sorry, I'm just watching this bushbuck because the adults seem to be staring at it in the distance. No, it's gone back in again. Yes, that is the right thing to do. I don't think you want to come out. Yeah, you can see it heard the lions. Of course, they're growling and making quite a bit of noise. Now, something that I've noticed with these Birmingham boys, and it's quite interesting, is that, yes, they're very well capable. Oh, sorry, Jimmy, I'm going to get back to your question now. Did you see that lioness? She actually almost got a hoof to the face there. And even this little calf would be able to do some damage. That would be quite sore. Now, so basically, Jimmy, you were wondering why that male lion in the distance didn't come down and help kill this buffalo. Something that I've noticed with the Birmingham boys is they seem to do as little work as possible. We saw it the last time when, I think it was Mfumo, when I actually watched the lions take down a buffalo, a young buffalo calf as well. And he attempted to, and the little buffalo charged him, and well, he ran for the hills and he said, right, I'm done. I'm not having anything to do with that anymore. And it seems to be the girls. Now, that's of course not very common, because I can speak about the Charleston males, who are incredible hunters and often leave the Southern Pride and go off and take down their own buffalo. And I recently just watched a video of where it was the Charlestons that indeed ran in and made the first move on 2 buffalo, not just 1. And I think the adult sort of stomachs are quite full. I'm actually not even sure if they ate the other buffalo. Now, Johnny, you're wondering how old are the oldest in Kahuma cubs? They're almost 6 months. At the end or the beginning of November, they should be about 6 months, and then it goes 5 months and then 4 months. So 2 older cubs, and then of course 3 middle-aged cubs, which will be 5 months in probably a couple of days or so. And then of course the 3 little teddy bears, who we have seen are not very teddy bear-like at the moment. They're growing up so fast. Look at those 2 having a little brawl. You're no match for me, little one. You're going to have to grow a bit more. Let's see if it jumps up for round 2 on the log. It's amazing how these lionesses are so tolerant of how these little cubs bite their ankles, bite their tails, bite their ears, jump on them, and do all sorts of crazy things. Now, there's almost nothing else around us besides that bushbuck, of course, that's roaming around inside the lodge. And I think that with the commotion that's gone on here, it's probably going to keep the other animals at bay. I don't think they're going to want to have anything to do with this, in case they fall victim to the ever so successful Nkahumas. Like I always say, I'm very impressed with the game viewing up here in the northern sands. It is it is phenomenal. Now you can see this lioness that we can see, she's got a couple of cuts on her, the one that's looking towards us now. Can you see those gashes down? If you go a little bit further down, Darby, there we go. Now, I saw them this afternoon and they were fresh, and I suspect it's injury sustained when they brought down that other juvenile buffalo. Just a few superficial wounds though, she'll be alright, and that's often what happens, is they do come away with a couple of sort of cuts and scrapes. And of course, my favorite story about battle wounds of lions is of course with the Charleston males. Two beautiful males that come from the Charleston farm, so around Londolozi, and they moved south, where two of them took down a giraffe, a fully grown male giraffe. And one of the males got his canine kicked out of his mouth, and it still dangles there today. This is unbelievable. All of them trying to get in and try and help as much as they can. Now, Biggie boy, you're wondering how long are these lions going to hang around the kill? I'm unsure, because the calf that they killed earlier was maybe a little bit bigger than this one that we're seeing now, but I'm not seeing any of their bellies looking particularly full. So perhaps a little bit later we'll go around and maybe try and have a look and see what's happening with that other carcass, and see if it's still there, if they even touched it. And there's my favorite little girl sitting up on the log, now playing. You're going to fall off. Yes, off you go. Yes, little lion, practice those moves. I mean, I think that these lions are going to have an advantage one day. Like I said, I've never seen this before, and I don't think we even grasp as to how valuable this moment is in these little cubs' life. I think that when they're older, they're probably going to think, whether lions do this or not, I'm not sure. I think only lions can really answer that. But whether they look back on memories, if they do have memories, and will remember something like this. I also just can't believe how that little cub leaped onto that buffalo's back when it had attempted to get up. That was just outstanding. I mean, that's where you see natural instinct kicking in at its absolute best. And that natural instinct, well, it never goes away. And I think we as humans sometimes forget that and think that we can domesticate absolutely everything. But we can't. Especially all these animals that are supposed to be out in the wild. I feel so embarrassed with my face. Everybody's going to giggle as they go past and they're snapping photos. Hi! Happy Halloween! Especially some guests who perhaps don't know about what we are and what we do and how silly we are at times. They're probably thinking, oh my goodness, that's a loony bunch on that vehicle. But David, I suppose we are a little bit loony, hey? Yes. You can't be normal and do what we do. Nope. And it's great. We've got the looniest bunch of amazing people that we get to work with every single day. And Louise said the same thing in my ear. She said she wouldn't have it any other way. And I think that's what makes us such a good team. It's that we all have our wonderful little quirks. Very much like what you see in a pride of different animals. You don't choose your family. You've just got to get on and accept that everybody's a little bit different. Like my favorite lioness, who's the feistiest of the whole bunch, the one doing the ballet. No, she's not. That's not her. My little lion, I think, is down in and amongst the sort of lion pile that we're seeing. There we go. She's right in at the back of the log. Now, I love this little lion. She's very special to me. There she is. You go, girl. See what I mean? Even though she's got mange, she's still got the biggest personality and the biggest fight of her. And that's why I think that she's going to beat this. And she's going to continue and become an incredible lioness. I absolutely love her. Nothing gets her down. Now, we're missing one lioness. Let me just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can only count. Now, Nines, you're actually wondering how many lionesses are in this pride. Well, there are 5 adults, and then we're wanting to do a count on exactly how many little ones, little lionesses there are, and get a proper, and sort of be able to sex these little lions properly. And I know that they did quite early on, a couple of months ago, and they came to the conclusion that there were 5 females and 3 males of the 8 little cubs. However, when they're so young, it's quite difficult to sort of tell the difference. So it'll be quite interesting to see if we can get them to just sit down, though, and stop wandering around all the time, and actually try and count them. Now, I tried yesterday, but it proved to be quite difficult because they were up and down in the drainage line, running around, biting tails and doing all sorts of other things. So it made it quite difficult, and we're just a little bit at a distance, but we can try now, if they are going to sort of stay in one spot, to just get a count. I know that one of the oldest, of course, in Kahumas, one of the oldest cubs is a male and the other is a female, and of course my favorite little teddy bear cub, our mangy little girl, she's a little girl, of course. So we've got 3 of them down, now 5 more to go. And I'm sure, though, that the previous count was correct, but it's always good to just double check. Sometimes the males sort of develop a little bit later, and often can be easily mistaken and called a female if their sort of male bits haven't started to develop just yet. Oh, there we go. There doesn't seem to be too much energy left in these cubs. You sort of see them when they're jumping. Normally they do. Yes, of course, it's feisty. We sort of normally see them with a bit more of a spring in their step, but I think that they're quite tired after the adventures of today, and I'm sure that they're going to sleep very well. You can see that those 2 look like they're retiring and heading over into the distance. Before I answer this question, I just want to let Aubrey, he's just reversing and repositioning. He's got some photographic guests on board, and of course you can imagine they are overwhelmed with the sighting and of course this beautiful golden light. Now, Louisa, you're wondering if there's a hierarchy between the various females in a pride. Not necessarily. There can be occasionally, though you often see with the oldest, the most experienced lion sometimes taking charge. But there's sort of no definite hierarchy like you see with the elephants. Of course, this is just my opinion and my experience. Somebody may have experienced something different, but I don't particularly see anything. Look at those 3 over there, all tackling each other. There's another burst of energy. Oh, down you go. Yes, fight back. Look at them. My goodness. Those little teddy bears have grown up quite a bit and they've become very feisty. They don't put up with anybody's nonsense anymore. They don't take bullying lightly. They give it straight back to their siblings. You can see this one looks like it's plotting its next move. Now, we're obviously very fortunate at the moment to have all the buffalo hanging around these pans as we have this hot weather and of course all the green grass around. But I wonder what's going to happen when we get lots of rain and there will be food everywhere. I wonder if the buffalo are still going to hang around because they know the Nkuhumas love it here. I wonder if they perhaps aren't going to move elsewhere and sort of spread out. Let's hope they don't, though. Let's hope that the buffalo do stick around. Oh, got pushed straight off of that log by one of the lionesses. There you go, coming back in again. Looks as though that buffalo is still breathing. Now, I don't think there's any sort of sense of urgency for these adults to take and completely sort of kill this buffalo just because it is smaller. And it's not as dangerous as an adult, but they're still cautious. You can definitely see every move that they make. They're careful. And that's the problem. As soon as you let your guard down, whether you're a human, whether you're an animal, that's when mistakes are made. And of course, you've only got one chance at life. And if it's a big mistake, well, unfortunately, that will be the end of you out here, as nature can be quite savage, of course. And sometimes the tables turn and the hunters end up being the hunted. And we see that actually quite often, more so than you think, of lions dying of buffalo injuries. Look at the Birminghams, for instance. One of the Birminghams, one of the 5 Birminghams, when there were 5, of course, succumbed to his injuries after being mauled by a buffalo. Oh, look at the lionesses playing with all the cubs. Right. We probably won't go too far. I think we'll hang around for maybe a little bit longer. But let's go back across to James and see how Karula and her cubs are doing.
Karula and her cubs have been burnt by the sun, everybody. They've disappeared in an astounding Halloween phenomena called the leopard-eating sun. Wasn't it terrifying, Brian?
It was horrifying.
Horrifying. I am, of course, talking nonsense. Karula is behind little Shongile, and behind her is Hosana, lazing about in the shade. Who could blame him? She is still eating the fetus of the hapless impala that was killed by the queen earlier today. She was, of course, sharing her kill with a number of very foul-looking flies, whose names I have forgotten. I'm going to find them for you while you look at it, because, of course, far more fascinating than the leopards are the flies that are sitting on the impala. I might just have to, you may have to excuse me on the Game Draft channel briefly, because there are a few people trying to come into the sighting now, and we might have to leave. We don't have to leave just yet. Just quickly hold on 1 second. I've lost the radio, Brian. Abel, come in. Stand by there. Stand by. Abel, there's one here, but behind is the female. She's just to the south of the big marula tree there, and then the other male cub the other side there, if you want. Otherwise, this is good. Oh, he's having a wonderful sighting. What is she doing? Let's move back a little bit, and then we'll talk about the flies, because I know you're all desperate to know about them. Just going to let Lex move first. We will move. Isn't that amazing? That's so cool. She's taking it back to Mum, I think. And I guess it feels just like her own little kill. That is so cool. She's behaving just like an adult leopard. It'd be interesting to see if little Hosanna would do exactly the same thing. I'm going to move back with her, Brian. I'll try and do it as smoothly as possible. Well done, Brian. Brian is doing a sterling job, everybody. He's contorted himself into an astounding position. I think she's going to try and hoist it into the tree there. I doubt it. He's taking, I can see Mum. I'm just going to let Lex get through here, and then we'll go. She's actually taking it back to Hosanna. This is fascinating. Well, she's taking it back towards him. I'm actually going to turn around. Sorry, everybody. Hold on, everyone. I just want to see if she doesn't take it straight back to Hosanna and they don't share it. But to do that, I need to get through here. Louise, if you are trying to get hold of me, this is where the communications went dodgy last time, so I think you might need to use the phone. Yeah, no, that's hopeless. I can hardly hear you. No, she hasn't put it down near Mum. She's put it down over there. Lots of sticks here. You're right there, Brian. Oh, good. We're going to get a great view over here. Yes, that was quite well judged on our part, wasn't it, Brian? They are completely unsighted, everyone else. We have got a perfect view. Okay, I've got you now, Lou. Hello, William Distracted, I think that's your name. You say, do I agree with your supposition that the size of the ears is related to the length of the whiskers and their position on the head? I couldn't begin to tell you if I agree with that or not. I've never even considered it vaguely. William, I don't suppose it's impossible. I'm just not sure why it would be like that. So if you could expand on your theory, I'd be fascinated to hear about it. Isn't this amazing? Those flies have followed her, you know. Nasty things. Now, I will try and find out what they are again. I had such a nice picture lined up there, Brian. Unfortunately, because I'm the world's very slowest photographer, I missed it, and all I got was a blur of spots. Okay, let me find this fly. Disgusting blighters that they are. You know, you look through the bees and the wasps, and they are all very attractive. I think they've got nice colours. They seem to be quite productive about life. And then you get to the flies, and they give you malaria and diphtheria and various other fairly disgusting things. Right, I think what we're looking at there... Give me a few seconds, wait, I've got one candidate. Ah, yes, that's what it is. The regal blowfly. Probably a mixture between the regal blowfly and the banded blowfly. And you know, as we've always said to you, the safari is not just about the great predators, the horns and the teeth and the claws. There we have the regal blowfly, a spectacular example of African wildlife, wouldn't you say, Brian?
It's splendid.
A splendid regal blowfly on the royal family of leopards. Wonderful.
Marvellous.
Marvellous, especially on Halloween. Stunning. Only, of course, possible with a royal leopard. You would never find a fly that magnificent on a humble lion, for example. I hope you know that I'm being completely ridiculous, everybody. Oh, and in the background, the lovely call of the Diedrich's cuckoo. And just a little wind coming up as the sun begins its inexorable route down towards the western horizon. And I think there will be a bit of wind later tonight. And there apparently is going to be some rain tomorrow. Brian and I think that that's a foul, contemptible lie. Right, we may have to move out, everybody, because Ephraim is trying to come here. No, he's not. He's going to have a drink. I don't mean he's going to have a drink. I mean he and his guests are going to have a drink. I've just heard that on the radio. Well, this is so special, everyone. I mean, and I know it has been kind of trumped by the unbelievable sighting of when buffalo see Tayla now, they must want to run a mile, because every time she looks at one, it gets nailed by a lion. And what I wanted to say was that she's been slightly overshadowed, these leopards have, by the fact that we've had a lion kill. But to see the little leopard like that, sort of learning to be an adult, moving her kill, very special. Oh dear. Rocky Knight, you say, how do flies find the kill? And I don't know that I know the answer to that, Rocky Knight. You say, is it smell? Well, it's certainly not sight, and it's certainly not hearing, so it must be some form of smell. I guess in the same way that a mosquito, which is also a fly, finds us by sensing our carbon dioxide. I wouldn't say it's smelling it, but perhaps what they do is they sense the carrion in the air. I wouldn't know exactly how they find the kills. It's a very good question. But they are very competent at doing it. And you can see she's being kind of protective over the kill. She's not happy with the flies there. And of course that translates into her adult behavior of defending a kill. Right, Mum's up there, Brian. She's moving towards the carcass. And I can still see Hosanna. And he is just lurking, doing nothing. Oh, she's wonderful. Isn't she great? That's a spectacular shot. You just move that branch there, Brian. She'll probably go and have a bit of a meal, and I suspect eventually she will find it within herself to pick the carcass up. Oh no, she's not. Brian, give her some privacy, come on. Disgusting. There we are. Louise, testing 1, 2. Yeah, I think we've lost the final control again, I'm afraid. Yes, we see I'm on phone if you need me. Just amazing, and equally amazing, thank you to the lions, of course, because they have savaged that buffalo. Because they've savaged that buffalo, we've had these leopards all to ourselves. Now just remember, I know I've said this a lot, but there does seem to be some confusion quite often, and I know you don't all always watch the show. We change times tomorrow, 5 to 8, so it's half an hour earlier in the morning, and then in the afternoon we'll be half an hour later. It'll be 4 to 7. Now Mum has definitely moved off towards the kill. She's finished her afternoon toilet, as it were. And we'll see if she doesn't bring it this way. Perhaps put it in the tree eventually. But I think we'll stay right here for now. This is a wonderful, wonderful view. So I don't think we'll go nowhere, and we'll wait for little Hosanna to come this way. He has not moved. Brian, you might be able to see him. Well, no, let's stay on her. It'll be interesting to see if she... I think she's going to follow Mum now. Isn't that awesome? This is fantastic, everyone. This really is so special to see. There, she's kind of almost hoisting it into a tree there. See that? Just learning how to do it. Something in her, in the dim recesses of her genetic memory is telling her to pick it up onto the tree and hang it there. Something that in the dim recesses of Shadow's genetic memory is seriously lacking. Shadow, of course, Karula's first daughter, who doesn't hoist her kills much. Oh, this is too spectacular. This is watching a little leopard, everybody, turning into a semi-independent. This is all instinct. Mother has never taught her to do this. She's watched her mother do it, of course. But I think it's 99% instinct. Right, now Ruth, you're wondering, you say it's a little bit difficult to judge her size from the screen. Yes, it is. Ruth, she's about the size, I would say, if you imagine a sort of, say, a Staffordshire Bull Terrier, can you imagine that kind of a dog? She's about that size now. I'd say she's probably in the region of, she's lighter than that, but she's about that tall. So she's about 1.5 feet tall now. And she's very slight, you can see. Here comes the little male. Here he comes. You see him there, Brian? He's just sneaking through. He's actually bigger than her, you know. Ruth, you were asking about the size, and I said they're roughly still the same size. He's getting a lot more solid than she is. Here he comes. Look at him stalking through here. Yeah, he's definitely bigger, wouldn't you say, Brian?
Yeah.
He's actually substantially bigger. We'll hopefully see them next to each other. I'd say he's 1.5 times her size. Much more solid. I'd put him, if I was going to guess, everyone, I'd say he was probably 18 to 20 kilograms. That's almost 44 pounds. Let's call him 38 pounds. Maybe I'm slightly overestimating his size. He's a big fella. He does. His father's not small, of course. Tingana, we think. Now, he's not sure what's going on. He's been so fast asleep for so long. He's in that kind of teenage haze of afternoon sleep. Doesn't know where his sister is. Can smell some sort of a meal in the offing. Now he can smell where she's put the kill. See, he smelt that, which is confusing him deeply. Now, Ruth, I don't know if you can tell from where he's standing now. When his sister was standing there, you could see that he was much smaller than this. At least she was much smaller. Yeah, he's smelling bits of impala there. He can see her, I'm sure, but I suppose he probably can't see that she has a piece of meat for him to eat if he wants it. Oh, this is wonderful. Hey, what a privilege to spend this amount of time with this number of spectacular little cats. He's a bit confused. Where's Mum? Where's the meal? I'm sure we had supper organised. I smell it here, but I can't find it. I really hope he goes towards her. No, you can definitely see her eating. I can see her eating. I want to see them next to each other, standing up. I think the size difference is going to be astounding. But he's too lazy. Right, let's head across while we wait and see what happens here. Tayla is still with the lions. She too has not had to leave that sighting. Let's go and see what's going on with that poor buffalo.
We're actually very lucky this afternoon with the Nkuhumas and of course Karula and her cubs. And we're able to spend so much time with these lovely lions. Oh, there we go. Isn't that lovely? Come over and have a drink. No. Getting told to move along, little one. Running away. Ooh, what are you going to do? No, he's not happy with this little one. Are you playing? Oh, that's nice. Not being too rough, being quite gentle. That's sort of unusual behavior. We don't often see the males sort of tolerating the cubs in the slightest bit. Oh, I'm just trying to duck. Where are you going now, big boy? Now, there's a couple of impala in the distance, and our friend the elephant from earlier today, he's come closer. He's just behind the dam wall, breaking lots and lots of branches. So I think he's making his way here to perhaps end his day off with having a drink. Now, if he comes to the little dam, you know, the one up from the big pan, which we can see now, I think he may chase the lions around, which would be quite interesting. Well, I'm hoping that's what's going to happen. We saw it the other day. It's not that they're scared of the lions, a big elephant bull, but you don't need to have them around. You can hear the impala alarming now. But the impala also, of course they've started alarming again. They are amazing, these little lions. They are really absolutely incredible. Well, they're running down, they're wanting to run down to where that male has gone. You're getting closer and closer. The impala is still shouting in the back. Oh, now the male's doing a phlegm and grimace. You see that? He's obviously picked up on one of the lioness's urine. Oh, careful little cubs. I don't think he's in the best of moods. Still jumping around. Now, I have to show you quickly one thing. I've got a new face, of course. Have a look at me.
Smile.
Can you guess who I am? Let's see if any of you get this one right. This is a tough one because it was particularly difficult to try and draw this one. But anyway, I'm sure you will get it. You're all very much in touch with your animal side, and I think I've done quite a bit of smudging of it. All the cubs seem to be moving away from the kill now, barring one or two, and seem to be very fascinated with our friend. It seems like it was Tino that we were looking at. He's just in the distance. You can see him over there. Hello, big boy. And he's very funny to watch with the cubs this afternoon. He seemed to be a little bit on the playful side. Well, let's see his reaction now because he's about to be bombarded by little cubs. You see one's planning an attack. Giving that little one the evil eye, sort of saying, you sit down, because if you jump at me, you're going to get yourself in lots of trouble. And here's my favorite little girl. Look at her in front of the log on the left. Here she is. Hello. She's so beautiful, even with her funny little floppy ear. I think that makes her amazing. Virginia, Lynn, and quite a few of you have all said that I am a warthog. I am indeed a warthog. I was actually quite nervous of drawing a warthog face because of being around these lions, but they don't seem to have spotted me. Thank goodness, because that would be quite scary having 5 adult lionesses and this one Birmingham charging towards the vehicle. That would not be fun. I would cower in terror. Run, run, run! Almost trying the ankle tap, not giving up. There we go, just swat the tail while we're there. Oh, they play so dangerously around these males. If these were the Charleston males, they would have swatted those little cubs long ago and given quite a few growls. This has to be, I think, the best afternoon I've ever had while on Safari Live. I think, I just can't even tell you, like, I thought, my goodness, they took down one buffalo earlier today during the heat of the day. That was exciting enough. But to see them take down a second one, to have them playing and just being incredible as usual, well, these lions never cease to amaze me, and I think they're just going to keep surprising me, especially as these little ones get older and older. I think it's just going to become more interesting. Now they're all running back up towards the kill. It's almost hard, we don't know where to look, eh, David? It's all happening. Those two are strangling each other, well, just pretending to strangle each other, of course. There's growling coming back from the kill. I'm going to very quickly just listen to the Game Drive radio. I just want to see if there is anyone else that's trying to come to the sighting. Are there any standbys for the Nkuhuma sighting? Okay, copy. Yeah, no, Matata, please just let me know when you're a couple of minutes out, and then I'll happily pull out for you. So it sounds like Andrew is wanting to still come and see these lions, and I hope he gets here quick enough because the sun is about to disappear soon, and unfortunately these little cubs are just too young to spotlight just yet. Almost in a couple of months' time I think they'll be ready. Seems as though the one lioness is having a nap on top of the buffalo. No, she's licking. Maybe she was just having a breather. I think once they remove all this hair, I think they're going to start eating again. Like I said, I don't know if they even ate the other carcass. We just found them on the kill, but they hadn't opened it up just yet. You can see that lioness licking around the elbow. We often see them start feeding. So we need to appreciate these next few minutes that we have with these Nkuhumas, because unfortunately we are going to have to pull out in probably about 5 minutes or so when Andrew gets a little bit closer. Have a look at this little cub. Look at these two, how they're building up speed now. They're charging across the open plain. They've traveled quite a distance. Let's see. Stalking. Now they both know that they're there, but it's sort of like a duel. Go, go, go! Oh no, I thought you were going to run and push each other over. Oh, I thought that was going to be a little bit more on the dramatic side, but nonetheless they've put on a good show for us the entire afternoon. Where are you off to next? No, still going to play with each other. Here we go, we've got another little boy, the one that is sitting on top, and it looks like two little boys. So these two little cubs, we're trying to also guess the age, guess the sexes of all the cubs. It seems like these are two of the middle-aged cubs, so the cubs that are almost about 5 months old now. So I better add that to my notebook. I'm going to do that very quickly. Right, I've got youngest teddy bears, I've got oldest, and now I've got middle. 2 times males, put that in there, plus, and now we'll just have to find the other one. Can we have a look at this little one that's walking out over here? And just when now that we've got them slightly separated, that looks like a male too. Now, I don't know if that is one of the oldest. That looks like it could be one of the oldest cubs, perhaps. You can see them staring in the distance. It was a bit far away, but there's that elephant that we saw earlier. Oh, wow, go, 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 chase each other. Sorry, I get distracted very easily, of course. That elephant is breaking branches at the back. He actually looks like he's going to push an entire tree over in a moment. And that has caught, of course, those little lions' attention. And if anything catches their attention. It seems as though there are quite a few males, though, from what I'm seeing. I know we said that there were 5 females. We're so far already, and I wonder if that one that didn't walk past was the oldest, one of the oldest cubs. It was a bit hard to tell when they're not all standing together. And that was definitely a male. So technically we have now seen all 3 males that were initially said to be. But we'll just have to confirm and see if the others are, of course, all females. Now, you can see those 2 running across to another little cub who was trying to stalk one of the adult lionesses who's moving away from the kill now. Perhaps she's coming for a drink. Oh no, she's going to the toilet. At least she moved away from the rest of the pride. Oh no, look out, girl, you can't even use the luxuries in peace because you're about to be attacked by 3 naughty little lions. He doesn't seem to be hanging around. Yeah, she looks as though she was dying to use the luxury. Well, perfectly timed there, David. Now this is where the duel starts again. I love how they sort of position themselves quite a lengthy distance apart now. At one point they were sort of keeping the gap between them nice and close, but now that they're older and fitter and stronger, they're able to really practice their sprinting much better. Hello, beautiful girl. Oh, wow. This is absolutely so impressive. Oh my goodness, I'm really amazed at how these cubs have sort of come along, how far they've come along in terms of their strength, their agility. We've really seen an incredible improvement just over the last couple of weeks. Oh my goodness. There we go, that's how they should do it. Very playful. You know, stir with the little cubs. And off they go back towards the carcass. It's almost like they've come back and said, right, little ones, come back and have some dinner now. So I think we're actually going to have to reposition again. Let's do that. Let's go back around. So you can hear me probably going through my book. I have to save my page on my lines so I don't lose it because I'm constantly adding information to it. So let's go back across and around to the other side and see if we can get a better view. Right, now we're going to make sure we don't hit any trees. That wouldn't be ideal. Right, we're not far, we're just around the corner. Oh, it looks like someone's being feisty. There we go. I haven't really started eating just yet. Quite a bit of growling going on now. Now I wonder who's being feisty like that on the carcass. Let's see if these two are going to join in as well. Very typical to have all that growling around a carcass. Remember, they don't have the table manners like we do, and it's sort of fight for whatever you can get. Though I feel as though these lions don't really need to worry about a lack of food, seeing as though their parents are so successful at hunting. And I love how they're now using the log to sort of push each other around it. Oh my goodness, it's getting very windy. And I think we're going to have to go across and see James's Halloween costume before it blows away.
You may think that the evil Combritum calinum is back, but actually, I'm a lion. There are the leopards. I'm going to take this off as the wind blows, because it might blow off my head onto the leopard. And as I said, as the sun goes, so the wind or the air cools enough for there to be this sort of tremendous flow of air. And I think perhaps the beginnings of the fateful front that will bring us some rain, or not. Oh, it's very windy, Brian.
Very windy.
Brian, there's also a spider hunting wasp there. Can you see it? It was sitting briefly. It's gone now. Sorry, let's go back to the leopards. Now, what we have there is Hosanna. Unless I'm very much mistaken. His mother brought him a leg to eat, because he was too lazy to go and get it himself. She brought it all the way across here. As he came down, she cleaned him slightly, and then she left it there for him to eat, and she's gone off to lie in the sand just sort of in front of us. And Shongile is still eating her entire fetus. But wasn't that nice of Mum to go and get him something to eat? It really is. Again, I'm struck by the necessity to anthropomorphize this and say that she was purposely going to fetch her son something to eat. It was something she clearly saw that he hadn't eaten, and that Shongile was eating very pleasantly. She came across, bought this little snack. She called him. Oh, Brian, there's an elephant. There's an elephant coming right through here. Now, this is cool. That elephant, because of the wind, may well bypass this area completely without realizing who's there. Karula hasn't looked up. He's walking straight towards Karula now. Can smell something's up, I think. There, Karula's seen, as you can see. The cubs haven't moved at all. The wind is howling. The atmosphere has changed completely from one of complete peace to this very eerie kind of atmosphere. The elephant's turned off now. Definitely knows we're here. Whether it knows the leopards are here or not, I don't know. Hosan has just seen him. He's watching carefully, but he's totally unconcerned, chewing on his meal. I think this is just a young bull. I think we saw this young bull yesterday. Isn't this amazing? This is why this is just the best possible job in all the world. You don't know what's going to happen. It's the safari cliche that we all use. You never know what's going to be around the next corner. Well, you really don't. Or in this case, around the next strychnos bush. Yes, eat all the strychnos. It's nasty stuff. Look at the wind blowing there. See the clouds starting to move a bit quicker. They're very high up though. Just wonderful stuff. Leopards have not moved. Karula's completely relaxed. She hasn't even turned around to face the elephant. She knows that he doesn't mean them any harm. There she is. You can just see her ears sticking out there. And then to the right of us, little Hosana. And to the right of him, his sister with her impala youngster. Now, I am going to decide, I think that we're going to leave the sighting, everybody. It's just getting a little windy, and as the sun starts to go down, I don't really want there to be a situation where the animals can't hear because we're in the way. Here's this little boy going to see his mum now, or just to sit in front of us. Oh, not for a long time. Cat, you're in Tampa and you want to know when he'll get his dewlap. A dewlap, everybody, is the flap of skin that grows underneath the chin of leopards. Some people have a dewlap as well. I've met people with dewlaps, haven't you, Brian?
Yeah, I have.
Yes. But his will only come probably when he's 6 or 7. So we saw Shivambalani the other day, and he doesn't have a dewlap yet, and he's 6 years old. So it'll take a little while. I mean, Shivambalani's father I never met, so I don't know if he had one or not. But this chap's father definitely has a dewlap, but it'll only come sort of, maybe 7 or 8. Isn't that wonderful? He's going off to share his meal with his mum. No, not quite. Just wants to be near her as the wind blows. He's watching the elephant now. There's a whole impala there, chum. You can go and eat much more than that rather scrawny piece of impala. I'll try and get a picture of that. That is slightly ridiculous, isn't it? Right, we'll let him move quickly. Let's see if he doesn't go maybe past his sister. But then I think we'll head out. Well, now this is an interesting one. I'm surprised it's A, taken this long for the question to come through, and B, that I haven't even thought about discussing it. You say, Benjamin, in Portland, you're wondering about mange in leopards and whether they get mange. I imagine they must be able to, but you know why I think I haven't even thought of it, Benjamin, is because the thought of these chaps getting mange is so horrific to me, which tells you obviously where my affections lie. But I haven't even thought about it. So, look, it's possible, I guess. So far, they seem to be okay. All right, everyone, we're going to pull out of here. It's getting dark, it's getting windy, and I want them to have complete... what do I want to say? I want them to have complete sort of ears and eyes and nose around where they are. They're near a kill, and so they are potentially vulnerable. So we're going to pull out now. Okay, in the meantime, Tayla is still with the lions, so let's head across to them and find out if they've killed that buffalo.
It's still very, very windy here, but the lions are now fighting over the carcass. I don't know if you're going to hear any of the growling because we are sitting down. Maybe you'll hear it, but the wind is absolutely howling. If we see all the dust kick up on the road again, we'll be able to show you to give you an idea of how windy it is out here. You can see big snarls from the lioness on the right. David, can you hear them growling?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. I'm just double checking because I can barely hear them growling sitting in the sighting. Okay, that's not good. I believe that there is just lots and lots of wind at the moment, so you're just going to have to take my word for it and pretend as though it's a silent movie with me doing a voiceover, I suppose. You can see how she's snarling those teeth. Look at that little cub. Louise says I should do growl overs. Okay, here we go. I'll try and copy as soon as there's a growl going. Hello. That's ridiculous, Louise. I can't believe you made me do that. It's like I'm some sort of puppet or something ridiculous. They don't actually sound like that. I will definitely not be able to fit in as a lion with my horrific attempts as growls. Sorry. I think it's a combination of the nuisance that the cubs are being and a couple of flies. Look at her though, she's really showing her teeth. And it's now getting almost too dark for me to take any photos, so camera, in your box you go. But what an incredible sighting it was while we did have some lovely golden light, but I'm sure it's still fine for you. I'm very sorry, I need to pull down my hat. It's about to blow off of my head. Get down on there. Snorty trying to sneak up. David is now filming with his eyes closed. You're doing a sterling job. Now, James, you've made a very interesting comment. You've said, do you think that once these lions have grown up, are they going to perhaps go for something like a giraffe? I think they are indeed going to have to, as I don't think buffalo are really going to do it when there are a whole lot of lions. I mean, you know, at least 13 of them or so, and then of course you get the Birminghams coming in and joining as well. I think a giraffe could definitely be on the cards. We've already seen the youngest lioness of the Nkahumas up and chasing a giraffe, not just once, but a couple of times. So it's definitely there. They definitely are keen, and I think once they get sort of strength in numbers and get a couple more, though they could quite happily take down a giraffe with just the 5 of them, I reckon that we could see some interesting things. Look at her showing her teeth. Now she's doing that. Is that Floppy being so cheeky like that? I wonder if it is. I can't see. No, it doesn't look like. I don't think her ear is flopping is enough. But it wouldn't surprise me. Like I said, to me, she's the feistiest of the cubs. Now that lioness, it may look sort of big and scary, and you're probably wondering, is she going to hurt that cub? She won't want to hurt that cub. So it's all just sort of big snarls and growls and the occasional sort of snap, but that cub knows to keep out of her way. I think she's definitely testing that lioness's patience. The lion, you can see the lions are sort of looking around quite a bit now. As the wind is picked up, I don't think they can hear very well either. My goodness. I'm having to hold my hat on my head now. And like I said, the wind is blowing straight down towards us. David has got his eyes closed because the sand is creeping into all the crevices now. And of course these lions are sitting out on the open plains, and they're really getting the brunt of the wind. This is where I would hate to be a normal guide trying to communicate with your guests in this wind. You'd have to probably shout at the top of your voice and use lots of hand signals. Ooh. Now I was... Ooh. And you can see the other lioness is not paying too much attention at all to what's going on, just the one. And we're going to start to see lots of scrapping like this as these cubs get older, and it's only going to get more and more feisty as they sort of grow up. Not giving up that little Nkahuma. You better be very careful and tread lightly, because as these cubs start to get older, the adults are going to be less tolerant of them. Now, James, you're not allowed to see my face. I'm going to cover my face with a towel because I'm nothing. So you're just going to hear the sound of my voice. I can't let you see me without any makeup on. I'm not a warthog at the moment. Oh, hang on. Our friend the elephant has come out. There he is, our beautiful big bull that we saw earlier today. Now, I wonder what he's going to do. No one has spotted him just yet. He could be trumpeting and making all sorts of noise, but the way that the wind is blowing, I think that they'd struggle to hear him. And I don't think maybe he knows the lions are here. Perhaps he heard them earlier, but he doesn't seem to be too bothered. He seems as though he wants to feed on that jackalberry tree, which he's able to reach by standing on that beautiful bank. Now, I'm saving my last face for something very special. But that requires me to get out the vehicle to find my makeup, of course. It seems as though our elephant's not going to come and chase the lions just yet. He's going to have a snack. So if you hear some strange movement, it's me putting face cream on my face because I've almost rubbed my skin raw after reapplying my interesting mask. But don't worry, I'm all right. I'm tough like a warthog. I wish I had skin like a warthog today, though. It has just been amazing. We've literally done one little loop and we found so many different creatures. Buffelshoek Dam was pumping this afternoon. That's the only real way to describe that place. And then of course we had the elephant here, we had impala in the background, and then the lions feeding on the buffalo. It doesn't really get too much better than this. And of course Karula and her beautiful cubs. Like I said, I think that this is my best day that I've ever had. Maybe even in the bush. I'd be even willing to say something along those lines, is that I haven't had a day like this for quite some time. These days don't come around too often. They're few and far between. Now, we've only been seeing sort of the lionesses around the carcass every time we've come through. And I know that Safari Ginny was wondering, isn't it strange that the Birminghams, whichever Birmingham it may be, isn't at the carcass feeding first? I think he's feeling a little bit overwhelmed. Let's have a look at his belly. He does look like he's eaten something, so perhaps he tucked into the buffalo that was killed earlier today. And maybe he got a little bite there, and perhaps he's not wanting to deal with the drama around the carcass at the moment. If he comes in and starts feeding, though, all havoc will be let loose, though. Those cubs will be swatted away from the carcass because he will not put up with the attitude of those little ones, sort of how the females do. Like I said, those lionesses are very tolerant of those cubs while they're at this age. But once they get older, they're going to start to be treated like adults. But we'll see that the Birmingham who was grooming himself when we had a quick look at him, so perhaps he's going to come over. And even look at our hippopotamus. Oh my goodness, I was trying to say hippopotamus is getting ready, I think, to leave the water. This is Henry, of course, his imposter. It's not Henry. Henry's got an injury on his back and we saw him at Buffelshoek Dam. But let's see if he's going to leave the water now. It's amazing, we've just surrounded by wildlife this afternoon. Looks like he's actually having a drink, the way that he's walking with his sort of nostrils below the surface of the water, so perhaps he's having a quick drink before he leaves for his dinner. And not rushing, just taking his time. Sorry, there's lots of flies now, I think, coming to look for shelter to try and get out of this wind. Come on, big boy, are you going to come out for us? He's actually, we saw him last night out here grazing in the open, but I think he's going to get a bit of a surprise if he decides to come around here. I think he'll probably go up and over the bank, sort of towards Mvubu Road. Yeah, look, he's drinking. Very thirsty hippo. There we go. Quite massive, actually. I could see why he could possibly be a contender for Henry the hippo. I think Henry is a little bit larger than him, though. I think this is a young chap that's got his youth on his side. You can see him starting to munch there. He grabbed a couple of pieces of grass. But there isn't very much water around out in the open. And off he goes. Right, that was lovely to watch him have a drink and come out of the water slowly. We'll keep an eye on him, though. Let's have another look at the Nkuhumas, because it might get a bit too dark. Ooh, look at those two little ones still having a go at each other. Now, it seems to be the same two that are fighting the whole time. Remember, they're not strong enough yet to start opening that buffalo. We did see one little one. Ooh, look at them. That is so daring. Now, we did, of course, see those little one pulling their intestines out. That, of course, the rump is quite a soft area and it didn't have to break through the hide. So they do rely on the lionesses to open up the carcass. And while they're busy doing this, here comes the elephant. Sorry, I'm jumping, but this elephant, I thought he disappeared behind the dam wall, but he's now approaching the Birmingham male. And the lionesses has seen him. Sorry, I'll get back to what I was talking about now. This is going to be quite exciting. Ears flared. He's seen the Birmingham boy. Now, I definitely think he'll chase him, or if not, just perhaps walk over to him calmly. Now, this is where you're really going to see who the king of the jungle is. Size does matter out here in the bush. Look, look, look. Yes, you better keep moving. Now, neither of them sort of really reacting to each other. Just Teen, you're moving off slowly. Not too bothered, and of course, like I said, that big elephant bull not bothered by just the one lion either, and he knows he's got nothing to worry about. I was only dreaming that would perhaps happen. I thought he disappeared after he was eating the jackalberry back down to get out of the wind. But nothing is stopping him. He's going to definitely come over and have a drink. Let's see if he goes towards the carcass. No, he's just standing, sort of staring. Bless you. He did a big sneeze. And he doesn't seem to be interested in the kill at all. I think he's going to go and maybe find some shelter behind that little bush, or perhaps just sit in front of it and keep out of the wind, which is quite clever. None of the animals really enjoy the wind so much, especially when you're a big male lion, and that mane, well, I know how he feels. My hair always blows into my eyes and tickles my nose. It's probably the most annoying thing in the whole world. You still see those, all the little cubs chewing on the carcass. Right, now the lioness that was doing all the growling at the cubs has moved off the carcass now. Hello, Lily from New Mexico, who's only 8 years old. I hope you're enjoying watching this show this afternoon. It's been so exciting. Now, Lily wants to know, you're going to see me now with no makeup on. I think I have a few smudges though. Lily, can you see any black on my face? I think I've got it everywhere. Now, Lily, you were wondering if the lions would perhaps try and catch and eat that hippo. They would indeed. I think if that hippo came over here, with all the lions around at the moment, it'd probably have to be very, very careful. If it was just one lion or one or two lions, it wouldn't really have anything to worry about. But the fact that they're all here, you better be very careful. Right, I need to do a face paint very quickly. Let's go back across to James though and see how he's doing after he left Karula.
Captain Leafbeard is talking to you from this Hallows Eve here in the middle of the Sabi Sands. Captain Leafbeard is my name, and I'm a terror of this area. All right, Brian. Captain Leafbeard. Nobody gets in Captain Leafbeard's way except maybe that... Oh, a tree got in my way. I'll chop that tree down until it's dead. We've left the leopards, everybody. They were feeding quietly. The wind has come up, as you've seen. Quite a lot of action at the lions and the elephant and the hippopotamus sighting. I must confess that I didn't realize Tayla was going to put so much effort into her Halloween costumes today. I suspect they've probably looked a lot more realistic than mine. I don't believe for 1 second that any of you really thought I was a talking combretum tree, a lion, or indeed a pirate with a leafy beard. Yes, good. And I suspect that Tayla will be closing the show with her pièce de résistance. Brian is now going to show you his Halloween thumb.
See if the light is good.
Oh, the light. Would you like some light on it? No, we would. Hang on, everybody. The thumb deserves some light. Here we go, Brian.
Oh, no,
There we go. There it is, the Halloween thumb. Oh. Sorry, I was getting my laughing going.
Yeah.
Good. Well done, Brian. Excellent job. Right, on to quarantine we go, to see if there are some ghosts up there, maybe, or a walking pumpkin. Zoe, we've been asked this a few times. You say there are no scary ghost stories of the African bush to share. I don't know of many. Of course, the one we keep coming back to is the one of Utogoloshi, and Utogoloshi being, of course, a little troll-like creature who kidnaps children in the night. I don't think he's real, but he might be, and certainly he is also a great ravager of ladies, Utogoloshi, despite his slightly small stature. But I don't know of any other sort of ghostly or horror stories that happen out here. We could always make our own, though, couldn't we? I see Tayla up her head now. I wonder what she's going to be dressed as. The ghostliest critter in the Sabi Sands smiles is Kirsten McLennan Smith. And that is because, of course, she is of Celtic descent, which means that her skin is very pale indeed. And some say she's a vampire. I don't know myself. What do you say, Brian? Maybe. She might be a vampire. It could be so scary to see if she was a vampire. Right, everybody. We're going to close down now and hand you over for the last while to the great Halloween Queen herself. We'll see you tomorrow at 0500. Don't you dare forget that tomorrow the times are changing. 5 to 8 in the morning, 4 to 7 in the evening, and we'll see you there. For the meantime, from Brian and his beastly thumb and our Captain Green Leafy Beard, good night, and the force be with you.
Look what I've got for you now. If you're wondering what I am, David, can you see it nicely?
Yes, I can.
It was very quick. I'm now eating sand. I am a termite mound or an anthill. One of the two, I'm not sure just yet. I didn't really get enough time to do it properly and sharpen my pencil. And I think it's fantastic to go as perfectly good to go as a termite mound. I reckon if you used a sheet and you dyed it brown and you made little holes for your eyes like you would put the sheet and look like a ghost, well, then you added maybe sand, glue and lots of sand, and then you put a couple of ants on, or termites, whichever your choice. I think it would be, that is so good. I can't tell you how great the earth tastes here in South Africa. It's really delicious. I don't think my dentist would say the same thing, though, as I'm probably wearing my teeth down a little bit too quickly. Now, we're unfortunately coming to the end of the show, and it's been such a pleasure with you. I'm so tangled it is scary. I've got everything stuck on my knife, but I'm going to have to say good night to you. And like I said, it's been an absolute fun Halloween, my first Halloween here on Safari Live and at Wild Earth. And I hope you've enjoyed it. I look forward to the next one and all the other holidays to come in the near future. Now, we'll see you bright and early, of course. Remember, really early tomorrow morning. From myself and David, have a lovely night.